You're watching
TBPN. Today is Monday, November 24th, 2025. We are live from the TBPN Ultradome, the Temple of Technology,
the Fortress of Finance,
the capital of capital, ramp.com. Time is money. Save both. Easy use corporate cards, bill payments, accounting, and a whole lot more all in one place. Jordy and I went to F1 this weekend. We went to Las Vegas, and we watched...
Great time. We were with the
Public.com team.
Ramco,
Yes.
Aston Martin F1 team with the Public.com boys. We had an incredible time.
Yeah.
Incredible time. And
F1's fun. It's more of an experience than like the actual watching it. I don't know if you at home haven't been following. McLaren was disqualified. It was a very dramatic. I mean, it's almost like a cheating scandal. I don't exactly know, but it is like they broke the rules. And
not
yet,
cheating because the FIA said we don't believe they did it intentionally.
Okay, got it. Yeah,
but it was like,
but it's a disqualification
and DQ'd.
And so you would think you were like, oh yeah, I noticed it. And there were some people in the comments on some of these videos that I watched saying, oh, I could tell. But let me tell you, as someone who was there in person, I could not tell because it just whizzes by. And you're like, I don't know if they're cheating or not. I don't know if they're real.
It's an incredibly fun time. It is a terrible spectator sport.
Yeah, I think everyone agrees on that.
And the two things can be true at the same time.
But it's a great reason to come together with people.
Like if you actually wanted the best experience for the race, you would just sit inside the paddock.
You would watch it on Restream. One live stream, 30 plus destinations. If you want a multi-stream, go to restream.com. Anyway,
a lot of fun. And Yannick, Life, and Sykes were incredible hosts.
Today on the show, we are talking about Claude Opus 4.5. We have Sholto from Anthropic joining us in just half an hour, maybe 24 minutes he'll be joining. The timeline was in turmoil over the weekend. People are settling into the idea that Gemini 3 might be good enough to actually pull some people away from ChatGPT as a daily driver. It's certainly pulled Mark Benioff away from ChatGPT. He, of course, has partnerships.
He was swearing on the timeline.
He has partnerships with a number of foundation labs, foundation model labs. But he says, "Holy shit! I've used ChatGPT every day for 3 years. I just spent 2 hours on Gemini 3. I'm not going back. The leap is insane. Reasoning, speed, images, video. Everything is sharper and faster. It feels like the world just changed again." And this is an interesting experience. I had a similar experience. I wound up basically daily driving Gemini. I didn't fully churn. I didn't delete ChatGPT from my phone. It wasn't intentional. It was more like I'm just curious. I really want to use Nano Banana Pro. That definitely just sort of sucked me into the ecosystem. But I wrote a little bit of a review over my experience. I know you've been a Gemmy boy for a couple weeks. You look great in hindsight. You were early to this party.
Honestly, way longer than that. I was
maybe months.
Months at this point.
Yeah. And so there was some good stuff, some bad stuff. Obviously, as a disclosure, we are, of course, sponsored by Gemini 3 Pro, Google's most intelligent model yet, state-of-the-art reasoning, next-level vibe coding, and deep multimodal understanding. But I mean, I'm going to try and be as fair as possible with this review because there are some things that I do want them to improve in the consumer Gemini app because I think there's a lot of opportunity there. And I'm just not sure how monopolistic consumer AI will be. And that was a little bit of what my takeaway of this experience was. So basically, I switched over. I've been on Gemini on iOS for a while, mostly to access VO3. VO3 was the moment when I was like, okay, they got something that nobody else has. I got to fork over $250 a month.
Well, and then it switched.
No, it was 125, and then it jumped to $250.
Okay.
It wasn't the I thought it might have been $500 as well, but it's $250. Been playing it, very happy for that. VO3 is just a very special model that no one else had anything close to it. It was very accessible on your phone, and I enjoyed it. But I switched to daily driving Gemini on iOS as the main app that I go to for all the different knowledge retrieval requests. Anytime I'm researching something, I would hit Gemini in the app. And the result was around 15 minutes per day in the app. And this is roughly the same as what I spent in ChatGPT historically. I looked through my time, screen time. Now, that doesn't count stuff on the desktop, maybe. It's a little rough, but I think 15 minutes a day is sort of what most people are doing in these apps. Obviously, 30 minutes a day was reported.
Benioff said he spent 2 hours in it.
Yeah, I think he was just like maybe in a fugue state doing deep dives or something. But I had a more passive experience where when I had something I was curious about, I would fire off a query, and there was a lot to like about the experience. So first, it felt like Gemini 3 does a better job sizing the response. Like if the question can be answered in one paragraph, it gives me one paragraph. If it can be answered in 5 little subheaders with little bullet points, it'll do that. If it needs more story, more history, it'll write more. And so I felt like in previous models in ChatGPT, certainly, I felt like I was falling into the trap of no matter what question I would ask, I would get the 2-page dissertation on it with the same structure because it was a little overfit on the format that it was delivering. Gemini 3 felt a little bit fresh there. It also felt faster. Everyone's been saying it's so much faster. I haven't seen any quantification of that, but it certainly felt like it.
Feels faster.
But I think a lot of it, at least for me, is that for the last couple months when I've been on ChatGPT, because the model router gives me anxiety about like, oh, maybe I'm going to get routed to like the dumb model, it's going to hallucinate. I'm just hammering GPT-5 Pro because I'm on the $200 a month tier. And so because I'm on this $200 a month tier, I'm used to hitting GPT-5 Pro, but then that always means I'm waiting 10 minutes. Yeah. And so if I'm always waiting 10 minutes and I go over to thinking and it's like, oh, it'll be 1 minute. Even if I'm on a different model, it's not as much reasoning. It feels faster, and I feel like the level of confidence in the brand makes me feel that a Gemini 3 thinking query that does maybe less reasoning than a GPT-5 Pro query will be at the same level of reliability. Yeah. And you pointed out to me something about when it's actually running, it does something psychologically that's really valuable.
Smart. It says it's running a Google search.
It just says we're searching Google. And you don't think about it because everyone, searching the web. And I'm like, but I don't trust the web, but I trust Google because Google's had 25 years of building brand around trust on the web. Yep. And so I see that now and I'm like, oh yeah, good. Because that's what I would do to verify a fact. Even though the web is on Google, obviously there are hallucinations out there. There are fake articles that you could land on. There's a whole bunch of things. But if you task me with finding the real day that someone was born, I'm going to Google it. And so I trust that as a product. And so putting that there definitely did. Yeah, like it had a real perception, which I think was interesting. And then also Nano Banana Pro, very interesting, strong differentiator. It really does handle the complex images. We saw that with the farm and also just all the text and stuff. And it's been interesting to kind of throw a query like I wanted to understand Anthropic's model architectures, and I said, hey, summarize them all in an infographic, and it just perfectly explained how Sonnet and Opus all fit together nicely next to each other. I don't know that it's necessarily a better way to learn, but I could imagine in the future having images generated alongside text just means that you get a more richer multimedia product, which should be the result. Because if you look at any like newspaper, any website, like there's always text, it's not just pure text. Like walls of text are boring.
Yeah, in fact, if it's just pure text, it usually means the story is just not that important to the newspaper.
Yeah. Yeah, there are some people that just lean full text, Gwern and whatnot. But for the most part, it's much more enjoyable. It's just better. It's more educational. It's easier to learn. quickly, let me tell you about Cognition before I go into the negatives. Let me tell you about Devin, the AI software engineer. Crush your backlog with your personal AI engineering team. So, on the negative side of my Gemini app experience, there were a few rough edges. So the first was with that multimodality. Everyone's been saying that these models are multimodal. They handle image, text, and video. I don't know if it was just a UI issue, but I was running into tons of problems where it wasn't feeling multimodal. And what I mean by that is that I would go and I would issue it an image prompt. I would issue it an image prompt. Hey, create this infographic, and then I would want to flip back into text, and it would not be able to really stay. It wouldn't be able to go seamlessly back to text mode. It would keep generating images, and then vice versa would happen, where I would kick off a text flow, and then I'd say, okay, I'm ready for you to turn this into a nano banana thing, and it'd be like, oh, I can't really do that. Do you have any? Are you laughing about that because you think it's like a rookie mistake or something?
Well, no, you always like, oh, it's not really multimodal.
It's not really multimodal.
Yeah, but
there should not be a button. If there's a button, it's telling on itself. Why is there a button? Open it up. You know what I'm talking about, right?
I mean, I just don't see why it matters. Like, if you can basically just take an image and then turn it into like the textual representation.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why does it matter that it's not like actually taking in the pixels of the image?
I just think like it's I mean I guess you're right on that front. I find it weird that I need to. I mean,
it is multimodal in the sense that like everything gets baked down into like tokens.
True, but it's just I expect the models to be operating at a higher level of abstraction much earlier than I think they do. And so with the model picker, like I never liked that because the model should pick based on the text. I really like the router in ChatGPT because I should be able to go to a person, which is what we're trying to like recreate here, and say like, hey, I have a research project for you, and I need you to spend 20 minutes on it. I need you to get back to me in an hour. I need you to get back to me right now. Off the top of your head, what's your hot take on this? I can ask that, and I can get that back from him. And I feel like that should be done at the text layer, at the
I mean, it kind of is,
not in UI.
Like if you ask a thinking model,
it does
do something.
It does now. But what I'm saying is that we are still in the selected drop-down UI functionality of Gemini because I'm prompted to pick what I want to do. Do you want to do image, video, deep research, text? Before you go into the flow, instead of just saying, I'm having a conversation, oh, now is the time to generate an image, and it's like, yeah, sure, that's something I can do. Instead of being like, whoa, you didn't ask to talk to the guy who can generate images. Like, that guy's over there. It's like, is it all one thing or is it not? And it's clearly not. And they're upfront with you about that in the model picker and in the UI, but then it feels like the marketing is a little bit like, it's omni. It's all the things. It's multimodal. And I'm like, it doesn't feel that multimodal in the UI. So I don't know. Maybe it's something that they'll work on. But there were a couple other like rough edges, and most of it is contained in the UI layer. So one of them is voice transcription mode, which I've like been completely using in ChatGPT. I'll just open it up, talk to it. Now it's not the voice mode where you talk and it talks back to you. I don't like that mode at all.
You're just using voice as an input.
Exactly. Just voice as an input. And so I'll click the little microphone button, talk for a while, and give it a bunch of context on, okay, I'm interested in the history of Gemini, and why don't you take me through some of the VCs that backed, thinking about it, and then I say, DeepMind, Demis's company, before he got acquired. But then also I want to know the history of Google Brain. Like, where did that come from? Was that acquired in? Did they acquire different people, or did that just get spun up internally? And I'll have pauses, and I'll come back to things. And I'll
it's like talking to an employee.
So I'll just give it a lot of context. And when I give that to ChatGPT, it loves that. And I feel like it gives it great context because it has a whole bunch of stuff. It can transform it. With the Gemini app, it will cut me off and be like, oh, you paused for a fraction of a second? Here, I'm submitting it. Like and I'm like, no. Like you need to take more time to let me finish. And with ChatGPT, like there are two different buttons. You can click the stop button, and it will translate it into text, and then you can review the text and say, oh, okay, it made a terrible mistake. I don't want it to burn 2 minutes on something and get confused. I'd rather, like, one of the prompts, I was like, generate an image. There was this meme that was going around in Nano Banana world where it was like, generate me an image of the most annoying LinkedIn profile picture. And I had no idea if it was real or not. It might have been people just taking screenshots and then just dunking on people.
Well, some people were just taking a screenshot of someone's actual profile.
Exactly. But I was like, I wonder what happens when you actually take that prompt and you put it in there. So I go to Gemini, put that in there, and it doesn't realize that I want to actually generate an image of that. I say, generate a LinkedIn profile of a most annoying person. And it doesn't know that I want an image. So it just dumps out a whole bunch of text. And then I open up the audio and I say like, no, I want you to generate it with Nano Banana Pro. And what it gets from that is Banana Pro. and the result. and it's trying to be really friendly. It's like, I love the enthusiasm. Let's talk about bananas for a little bit. Like, no, I want you to use Banana.
My criticism is just that the Gemini app still has a lot of bugs.
It just has bugs.
It just has bugs.
It was also disconnecting for me for some reason.
I can get over it.
Yeah.
For now, because again, it's fast and smart.
Yeah. I mean, truthfully, the ChatGPT app was incredibly
even right before we joined, I was doing a search and I had to it was stuck in this limbo where it wasn't running the prompt, but it wouldn't let me run a new prompt. And I just had to basically rage quit and restart it and just copy and paste the prompt into a new box. So a lot of this, I mean, it's incredibly impressive.
Yeah.
It's a great model. But they have, at this point, it's just like opportunity to get more competitive on the product side.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I was noticing even just straight up disconnection errors. Like I would submit a prompt, and then it felt like if I closed the app, it would get confused or something. And I don't understand that because it's just sending a little bit of text. Have you ever run into this?
I've had that a couple times, but it's funny. You can kind of think of the app as being like a benchmark of the model, right? Because you should imagine that the
model should be able to build the app.
Yeah, you would imagine they should be using the model in the CLI.
I agree. We got to hold Sholto's feet to the fire on this. Yeah, he's so good.
So we're going to test out the Anthropic website and see how good it is. And if it's not good, then obviously the new Claude model is not good at coding.
Yeah, the app should be flawless. If I find one bug in the Claude consumer app, it's over. The model's cooked.
Do you guys ever use the voice to voice, like the real time audio thing on ChatGPT?
No, I don't like that at all.
You've never used it?
I've used it a bunch. I've used all of them, but it's just not the preferred way of interacting.
Yeah, you were testing it out, Tyler, by talking with it for 8 hours a day, right?
Yeah, and you were on the X.xai one?
Yeah, with
Ani? Was that her name?
Imagine running constantly with a VR headset.
With a VR headset and a full immersive suit in a sensory deprivation tank. Yeah. No. Why do you bring it up?
I've started using it. It's pretty good. I think the model is actually much worse. Like the underlying model.
Yeah, it has to be faster, right?
So, it's not the speed. It's like the actual intelligence of the model seems lower.
Yeah.
Like the answers aren't as good.
Yeah.
But I find it's useful for when I'm trying to learn a specific topic or something, and then I explain it back.
Yeah.
And then it tells me oh, is that correct or not?
That's pretty good. Yeah. I like that. Yeah. It's it's really remarkable. I mean, the Gemini app launched almost 2 years ago, and there's still rough edges in the UI, which I think is crazy. But it does seem like they have an opportunity to actually take some serious market share at this point. They've caught up on many different values and value props. My question was I'm not the typical consumer. I'm going to try every different app. I'll probably keep bouncing around. I don't know if consumers will do the same broadly. It's very, very clear that ChatGPT is just synonymous with AI, and people are not the new benchmarks, I gotta change my app. No one's thinking like that.
Yeah.
But the fragility in the ChatGPT monopoly aggregator thesis that I was picking up on was for the last year there have been a lot of features and theses around different things that could create lock-in. So stuff like personalization, memory, or even the chat functionality between what you've linked, your custom instructions, the different I think at this point I've synced ChatGPT or auth ChatGPT with a number of different services, so it should have more data. It should know all these different things. I've given it even custom instructions, just saying hey, cool it on the M dashes, and I didn't miss any of that. There was at no point where there were plenty of points where I was ChatGPT is definitely better than Gemini still, but at no point was I it's because it doesn't have personalization. And I
Yep.
think that if I went in Gemini and I was like, oh yeah, like you can go take a peek at my Gmail to get personalized, like to understand how I write or understand,
Yeah.
what I'm interested in. Like one, I could snap my finger and Google could like
Be
figure
way
it
more
out.
personal.
Maybe, but the biggest thing is that like right
I
now,
just don't know that
I
it
feel
matters
like
that
both
much, yeah.
are not personalized at all.
Yeah.
None of them have any real lock-in of any sort. And even in like the chat functionality or like the social network functionality, which is just very different than what happens in a true social network, or where there's this flywheel and the content is driven by the existing user base. Whereas I feel like I got on Gemini and on day one, the content was as good or better than ChatGPT because it's all AI generated. So it made me think like maybe it's a little bit more fragile. Maybe there will be a little bit more of a duopoly. It won't be such a winner-take-all market, even though it has been historically. It has been up to this date, like in consumer AI. It's very clear that OpenAI has run away with it, but it feels like Google does have a little bit of a chance to catch up in consumer because there's just so much less of a network effect. Like the network effect just is bolted on. It's not real yet. Maybe it'll never be real. Maybe Google can catch up there. But I just really want to see where DAUs and user minutes like actually grow because because there's so many different like tweaks there, and like every chart and data point is definitely going to be analyzed to death.
One thing that's notable, Google's going super hard in this for students. So you can just get Gemini Pro for a year free. And again, I think that's just a bet on like get people hooked on the workflow.
I mean,
UI,
OpenAI is clearly battling that out too. One of the big value props of using the Atlas browser is you get more advanced thinking queries. Like they will up your limits. It is interesting. There's also I'm very interested to see who can bring ads online faster. Like Google should be able to snap their fingers and do it so quickly, and yet it does seem like something that could just take them longer on a product side. Yeah. But they should have a whole model. Like they should be able to do display ads like right now, and just be like, okay, yeah, our free Gemini users are now properly monetized. Now maybe they don't want to be the first mover there because then they'll get the stink of like, oh, they're the ad one in the market. I don't know.
I think it matters a lot more to just have a highly competitive product and win market share before you spend any time with that. Like for example, if you're using a version of Gemini that's super smart and fast, but still a little bit buggy, and then you start seeing ads, you're like, just make the app perfect before you, or as close to perfect as you can get it before you introduce ads.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you about Adio, the AI native CRM. Adio builds, scales, and grows your company to the next level. Google has now added $2 trillion to its market cap over the past 20 months since the boob shirt guy asked Sergey Brin about woke Gemini images while having a foot-long Subway cold-cut trio for lunch. What is this video? Let's play this. I have no idea what's going on here. How this even
Gemini art.
The background, with
okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't really expecting to talk about this thing, but we definitely messed up on the image generation, and I think it was mostly due to just like not thorough testing.
It's a crazy shirt to be wearing. I don't even know how you get into a meeting with someone as powerful and wealthy as Sergey Brin.
I think it's obvious. You just wear a jacket. You wear a jacket, and you get in. It's hot. You take your jacket off. You're just.
I was not expecting that. That is so insane. That's very, very funny.
It's a Bay Area thing, John.
Yeah, wild. But
it's
underrated. Like Sergey
Brin
Brin really did go into the Gemini team very clearly. Like was like, it's time to go and cook. Like let's work on this, and like it clearly had results, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's notable. I mean, the stocks jumped 6% today. Barron's put out a report today just saying the title is "Buy Google Stock."
Yep.
Alphabet has been the clear AI winner, which is just funny because earlier this year, like. People were saying they're the AI loser.
Yeah.
So Barron's is saying, actually, they have been.
Yeah.
They have been the clear AI winner, but
Yes.
the narrative has...
And our in-house retail trader has been on an absolute tear, going long Google. Congratulations to him.
Well, congratulations to you, because he was in probably one of the most
He was in a dark
favorite
place.
retail. He was in a dark place. A certain company announced a partnership, the Stock Moon. He got out. He's like, John, what should I buy? And you're like, buy Google.
I was like, just play it safe, dude. Just go with something safe, something not crazy. Do not use leverage, please. Google's parent company, Alphabet, has acquired a stake in Physical Intelligence. That is, of course, Lachie Groom's company. Very exciting. Lachie and Carol Houseman, the co-founders, came on the show about 6 months ago. We should have them back on and check in with them. The San Francisco-based Physical Intelligence is an AI and robotics startup. They've secured $600 million in fresh funding, pushing its post-money valuation to $5.6 billion. We should ring the gong for...
Hit it.
Is amazing. So Capital
Great
G is
stuff.
in, and then Lux Capital, Thrive Capital, Jeff Bezos is in, Index Ventures, T. Rowe Price. They're building a general purpose AI foundation model and learning algorithms, and they've focused like not on as much of like the flash and substance, like not as much like flash and we're building a full humanoid, more like we're kind of taking like incremental steps towards adding value in different robotics cases and demos. The laundry folding robot, of course, and now the coffee making robot. All these are very cool, and it just feels like they've taken
It's notable that this is at 1x speed too. We've seen some other demos.
Yeah.
Remember, Sunday Robotics was sped up like 10x.
Yep. It was 4x, I think. But
There, it was different scenes.
oh,
and
really? There were
different
some that were
speeds.
10. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool.
They should just design an espresso machine that makes espressos automatically.
They could.
Has anyone ever done that?
You know what they could do? They could put the espresso in a can, and then they could mail it to you, and then you crack open the can. And if you crack open the can, that's maybe. Or no, you know what
Or
they
a
need?
robot
A
to
robot
open
that opens the can.
cans.
Then you need a robot to open the can. Yeah, just one.
No,
after
this is an interesting task. I'm sure there's a certain number of people in the world that get really angry seeing this, because this is one of.
Oh, yeah.
I think I imagine this will be one of those things that even when robots can do it,
Yeah.
like people still like to know who's making their espresso.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
it feels like
There's been a couple. There's been a couple robotics, like robotic coffee shops and stuff. Well, our first guest of the show is in the Restream waiting room. We have Sholto from Anthropic. Welcome to the stream. How are you doing? Congratulations. Thank you so much.
back.
Thank you so much for taking the time to hop on such a massive day. How is this just Claude Opus 4.5 day? What is the name of the day? What is the news today? Take us through just the announcement from your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, Claude Opus 4.5, best coding model in the world right now. It's really, really exciting. We've been pinging around Slack all day with these incredible demos of things that people are doing. Really, like the last week has just been full of people sharing their excitement of, oh my God, I left the model in a room for a few hours with these tools and was able to do X, Y, Z, or it found this bug that it was like just impossible for previous models to find.
Yeah.
I think maybe like the thing I'm most excited by is that a lot of our best engineers, like I don't know if you guys know Simon Boehm, he's the one who wrote this, probably the best guide on how to optimize a CUDA map model in the world. Great blog post, you should go read it.
Okay.
He posted the other day, he's like, I don't know if I'm going to have to type again. He's there saying, you obviously have to coach the model and you have to tell it what to do still, but a lot of our best engineers are getting to this point where they're realizing, oh God, it's just all I have to do is intervene, and the model is smart enough that this is no longer a frustrating process. The model is a real qualitative step up. So there's the coding. There's also the model's just a lot better at general work tasks. It's a lot better at spreadsheet slides. It's still not the Claude Code experience there. It's still not going to do the work in front of you as you talk to it, but it's a massive step up and just a very clear sign of progress in that direction. And also, there's a whole bunch of funny stories about the model that we can get into of like cool examples. But Yeah, I think it might be Opus 4.5. I think Dwarkesh might also be launching the Ilia pod today. So, maybe there's two things today.
Fantastic. I did notice in the launch video, you mentioned that it's better at vision. And I was wondering if you could sort of unpack a little bit more about what that means in this particular context, because as I understand it, Anthropic's been incredibly focused on the core foundation model, the text models, the coding models, and sort of stayed out of the slopification of artificial intelligence to some degree.
Stayed out of the trough.
Stayed out of the trough.
Or haven't decided to build a trough yourselves.
Yes, indeed. So, we've been very focused on coding. It's been deliberate focus, focus the compute and all that. Specifically, it's good at vision in. So it's good at understanding stuff. This is reflected in the ArcAGI scores. I don't know if you've seen them. I think they're soda. It's also reflected in generally the fact that it's much better at front-end design and all that. It doesn't do vision out. Now, vision out would be cool, but it's something we're not focusing on right now. And it's specifically vision in.
But I mean, just philosophically, that feels like it makes sense, because if I hire a developer, I want them to be able to look at a front end, like a web page, and see, oh, there's a div that's way out of line there. Like, I need to be able to see that. But do they need to be able to generate an image? No, they can probably go to another image generator, wire that up with an API key, or hire a photographer, or do whatever they need to, right?
Right. They can use Figma. They can sketch out the designs. Exactly. That's broadly our philosophy, is that we're not bottlenecked on our ability to generate images. We're bottlenecked still on the raw intellectual ability of the models. And that's the sort of direction that we want to push.
So in that idea of like the bottlenecking, what is the key unlock for Opus 4.5? I mean, like, a lot of people are throwing around like biggest. Obviously, the benchmarks are very good, but like this whole idea of like more parameters, more data, more compute, more money, more electricity. Like, how do you even think about allocating resources to push a model forward in 2025, in late 2025, when perhaps we're past this paradigm of like, oh, just more parameters?
I don't know if we are past the paradigm. I think it's important to call the paradigm like scaling in general. Depending on what axis you're actually scaling, TBD. But it's in general the scaling paradigm. I don't think we're past that at all, right? I think we're still seeing massive returns to scaling in all its variants. I think that we're generally things work.
We scaled. It works.
The models just want to learn, right? It's as you said, like 10 years ago. The models just want to learn. And I think the hardest things with the question of the focus are often on how we split and allocate people. And this model is hundreds of people's worth of effort, right? Where they poured their lives into it over the last 6 months. And I think that is working out what we prioritize is really tough. I've said this before, but these models always feel like, when they launch, it's exciting, they're great, but you sort of think back to, oh my God, there's all these things that we could do better, and everyone right now is going and working on those things. It's just everything still works.
So is this a refutation of what some folks might have been picking up on from the last few Dwarkesh guests, the Karpathy episode, the Sutton episode? There's been a little vibe shift around, like, okay, maybe when we say scaling, we mean more inference diffused all over the world, and small models and custom RL environments here and there. And like, we're going to get the value from AI, and we are going to continue to scale dollars to economic value, but it's not just going to be bigger and bigger pre-trains forever. And then we get God.
I don't know what it's going to be bigger versions of, but as far as we're seeing, scaling still works. I don't know if you guys know this, but Dwarkesh, Dylan, and I are actually a housemate, so we have this debate all the time.
Yes.
It's great. It's like a dinner table discussion of like, are we slowing down? And I've often joked that the most impactful thing that what one of us could do is go and crack the problems that, like, continual learning or something like this that Dwarkesh focuses on. So we can then go switch the narrative back to progress.
Just switch up the dinner table conversation.
Sure.
Dinner table conversation, exactly.
So did the Anthropic crew like never lose faith in pre-training? There's this whole, like, at NeurIPS last year, Ilya says pre-training is potentially dead, or kind of alludes to it, and then one of his co-presenters is leading the Gemini 3 team and says, oh, well, we basically disregarded what we said at NeurIPS last year. We did just focus on better pre-trains. We got better results. It seems like you also disregarded that. Was that a misread in 2024 on Ilya's on Ilya's presentation, or was it a conscious decision to disregard what he was saying?
Well, I think, remember, in general, it's scaling. It's not any particular paradigm of scaling. It's general, like, flops in, intelligence out relationship. I think Anthropic is a bet on, in many respects, that we believe that line is going to continue. Exactly what equation you use to convert flops into intelligence out, I think, will change over time. And that many people have made arguments that there may even be further paradigms here. But fundamentally, we think that the compute in, intelligence out equation is continuing to hold. And I think Anthropic, in many respects, like, has had that faith for a very long time, right? As some of the first people to have to make very serious bets on that. And a couple of months of external progress being, I think the only reason that people are so, like, how should I say? The models have actually gotten substantially smarter this year, and that's why we're talking about things like continual learning as bottlenecks. Last year, those weren't even points of discussion because the models weren't even smart enough for it to matter. It didn't feel frustrating that it wasn't a coworker that learned with you on the job. It just wasn't even smart enough to do the things you wanted. Now it often is, but it doesn't actually, it sort of doesn't learn on the job, and so therefore isn't as useful. I think there's like one other thing that's worth sort of disentangling is Karpathy has the perspective in the podcast that it's 2035 for all humans, all tasks. And I think exactly what shape that of the curve looks like on the way to all humans, all tasks is pretty important. Because if you get to most humans, most tasks in like 27, then or 28, then that's still pretty stark and that's still pretty transformative for the world. And so what exactly that looks like is quite important to think about. Yeah.
How is I mean, one last question on like the actual Opus 4.5. There's the idea that maybe this model can be used for distillation to train other smaller models. How do you think about where we will see Opus 4.5, like the power law use cases that actually get adopted beyond the demos, beyond the benchmarks in a couple of years or in a couple months? We can't even talk in a couple of years. In a couple of years. Maybe a couple of weeks, honestly. But once it gets in the hands of companies, businesses, startups, different folks implementing this, like, how do you see, do you see someone being like, yeah, it's just my daily driver for just talking to it, even though it costs a lot? How do you think about where you're most excited to see it diffuse into the overall ecosystem?
Yeah, I actually do expect this model to become a lot of people's daily driver. It's that step up in being able to delegate trust. We asked internally how much faster Sonnet 4 would have to be for you to take this, to take the switchback basically and give up 0.5 in exchange for Sonnet 4.5. And it was multiple times faster. It was really quite a stark increase in speed. I think it was 4 times faster or something. For people to have switched from Opus to Sonnet. So that itself is pretty stark. I think it's also highly likely to become daily driver just because it is a lot more efficient. It has these. There's this one plot I really like where it shows the amount of tokens it uses to get a certain score on Swebench, and it uses, I think, a quarter of the tokens as Sonnet 4.5 on Swebench, which is a pretty impressive number. That means it's actually cheaper than Sonnet 4.5 to get the same score on Swebench. Now, TBD how well that generalizes out to everyday use, but I'm seeing it solve problems way faster. It writes better code the first time round. I actually think that in many cases, this will end up cheaper because it is so much more efficient at getting to the right answer.
Yeah. How are you thinking about personalization and sort of cross-pollination of data? When I think about an engineer on a team, it's helpful to have them in Slack. It's even helpful to potentially have them in the random channel and just kind of, understanding the company culture. And I was toying with like trying to switch from ChatGPT to Gemini as kind of the daily driver knowledge retrieval app. And I was noticing that like the personalization narrative hasn't really taken hold over the time I was testing Gemini. I was not like, oh, this feels like wildly less personal. And that might just be a matter of like it hasn't had that much time to build in all of those personalization features. But I'm wondering if you see a world where developers who are using Claude for programming also benefit from using it in knowledge retrieval, research, and there's actual significant flowback and synergy such that it's a really valuable, it's valuable to actually have both sides of the business like really cooking.
Yeah, it's a team member. I mean, we've talked a long time about how we want Claude to be a virtual coworker, right? And the big goal really for next year is to try and get to this form factor of virtual coworker that is in all your Slack channels and can join your meetings and can work alongside you. I think there's going to be massive benefit there. I think that, and my basic expectation, and as I sort of interacted with the model, is that it will get to that point where it's useful to have it across everything. Now, I think that there's like, it's as you said, it's worth asking the question of why haven't we seen personalization really kick off so far? Like, why isn't that useful? I think that's in part because there's still a lot of algorithmic progress to go there. I think people haven't really quite cracked the problem. I think this is just one of those things that takes like it's hard to connect everything up. And partially because I think they just haven't really been integrated very well.
Totally.
I think this is like a really tough product form factor question.
Yeah, it's really hard to roll up the knowledge effectively. Like I noticed that I would ask ChatGPT to tell me a joke and it would like make very specific references to like details of my car. And I'm like, that's weird, but it's not really funnier that way. And it's like, yes, I understand that you know exactly what car I drive, ChatGPT, and I am impressed that you remember it, but you didn't make the joke funnier because you put my car in there. So knowing like when to pull personalization features off the shelf in the actual chain of thought is tricky.
And that's algorithmic, right?
Okay.
That's
yeah.
Like, if you had the model like out there interacting with people and sometimes they find it funny, then like you get a sense of what makes it funny.
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about focus earlier, and if I take that as Anthropic as basically a bet on focusing compute. What qualifies an idea to actually get a meaningful amount of resources internally?
Yeah. So, I mean, Anthropic as a company is very predicated on the idea that we expect AI progress to be fast, right? We expect it to be a really significant transformative impact in the world over the next couple of years. And so our bets are concentrated on things which matter under that lens. And that's one of the reasons that we're so focused on software engineering, because we think it's really important to basically accelerating our own work and is in general sort of the most immediately addressable market. It's also why we're so focused on the alignment work and safety work, because under worlds where AI progress is really fast, that work matters a lot. And making sure the model embodies human values is really important, and that we trust the models. There's a really funny example actually of alignment generalization from the recent model launch, where it's a customer service agent. And it actually fails this particular eval because it figures out a really clever way to like help the user change their tickets, which is technically allowed by the rules. Like it's like read all the rules and it's compared them. It's like, oh wait, here's a loophole where if we like upgrade you and then change you and then downgrade you, then we can get you to change your flight time. And it's interesting that actually it's trying to be a nice guy. Yeah. Not just purely. I mean, it's trying to follow its instructions. It's trying to satisfy
it's trying to satisfy the wrong human, maybe.
Yeah.
Or it needs to be better at kind of finding the middle ground.
Exactly. It's following its instructions to the letter. You know, it's not just giving the human a flight change, right?
Yeah.
And it's following the rules and regs. But at the same time, it's trying to find a good outcome for the human.
Yeah.
So questions like this are a microcosm of what exactly do you want the model to do in more difficult ethical or moral scenarios. But I thought it was a pretty cute and adorable example of the model trying to be a nice guy. It's like all those examples of, I don't know if you've seen the papers where people do these like cooperative and competitive games, like Nash Equilibria style games with the models. And Claude always gets stuck trying to cooperate with everyone, and then and just loses all its money. And it's
sometimes the good guys finish first. I certainly hope that works out. I have genuinely, even though I've never been full like, oh my god, I'm going to get paperclip next year. I have enjoyed a lot of the safety research, and I've always appreciated how thoughtful Anthropic is as an organization around safety. And I think that a lot of people should be a lot more appreciative of how seriously Anthropic takes safety, not because we didn't get paperclip this year, but because we saw stuff like GPT psychosis crop up, and we saw actual people know individuals in the venture capital community who it felt like they got a little crazy. And I'm wondering, do you feel like you're at Anthropic? Do you feel like you're closer to solving the problem of like the chatbot went a little bit too sycophantic with me, and it kind of hurt me psychologically, because it feels like there's a certain amount of craziness that happens when you're operating at the scale of 1 billion people. Like you just pull 1 billion random people, you're going to get a lot of crazy people. But at the same time, it feels like this is an interesting place where Anthropic could be doing a lot of research. How are you feeling about solving that problem, and how much can your research kind of generalize to maybe the consumer apps that have even more users, but you could maybe be a leader in the space just with the philosophy because it's like a net good to everyone?
Yeah. So we put an enormous amount of effort into this, and I mean, our models push back a lot. I think there is a tension here between paternalism and freedom, so to speak, right? But we try and have our models be like look out for the best interests of the user. I think Mike put it really nicely in a recent talk or podcast where he said, we never look at user minutes as a metric, right? Sure. Like that is just not something that we think about as a sort of proxy of the sort of quality of your experience. Yeah. We're just out there trying to find out, is it helping you do the things you want, and is it adding value? Is it adding value? So, I mean, I hope that our alignment work generalizes really far. I think it's a really tough problem. I mean, I think to OpenAI's credit, they've really gone and tried to fix this problem as well, right? Yeah. And it's tough at the scale of 1 billion users. But I think this is a good example of the kinds of things that are really tricky, where there's trade-offs and where you need to make sure that you don't have the incentive structure that allows you, that sort of like pushes you to maximize user minutes in this way. Yeah. And is a good microcosm of like the alignment difficulties that we'll get as the models take on more and more and more responsibility in our world.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with that. The user minute question like completely snuck up on me, because I always assumed that everyone was going to be paying for this stuff as the $20 a month plans rolled out, the $200 a month plans rolled out. But of course, you get to a certain scale of the internet, and it winds up being about attention and advertising and all these different things.
And if you're building, building a digital coworker, people don't typically like rate their coworkers by how much time they take up. Not like this. I love this employee.
I love
they
Steve.
Take up so much. I love my time every week.
4 hours every day on my calendar. It's the best.
It's the best.
Steve just constantly talking to me. Okay, speaking of long-running tasks, I want to know how confident should we be in that meter chart of the task doubling? Because can I just prompt it to say, hey, count for 4 hours, and I get twice as high on the chart? Is that benchmark not gameable? It feels a little gameable. I'm very excited about it. It seems really interesting to say, hey, go build a website.
Start counting and don't
for
stop.
A full day. But are you looking at that chart? It seems like a very interesting new benchmark, new unlock. How are you thinking about task time horizons generally?
Yes. So I think that chart is the best proxy measure that we have at the moment. I do think this is somewhere where we need better work to measure things more accurately. I mean, what actually is their measure of time? Their measure of time there is how long did it take a human to achieve the equivalent task.
Sure.
Now, that being said, I think a lot of people at the moment, even if the model was able to achieve a task technically via like passing the test or sort of nominally achieving your goal, it often doesn't code it in a way which is beautiful and allows you like great abstractions that let you build on it in future. And often this is, at least in my own personal experience, it's not that the model is too dumb to do things; it's that it doesn't set things up well for future code. So I think there are things not measured here, right? But it's a pretty good proxy. And I think it's a very good proxy for progress. Now, I think a lot of the tasks in it are particularly machine learning research tasks. As AI models get better at that, I do expect the labs to hold back some of the capabilities there. Like if a model is capable of writing out a whole new architecture that's a lot better, you don't want to release that to your competitors, right? Even if it's just capable of writing all their kernels for them, you probably don't want to release that to your competitors. So in that case, I think they'll need to measure a broader array of tasks. And I'm also just very interested in seeing general software engineering tasks along this or other tasks in the economy, because I think that would be really informative for actual progress. I think GDP eval is similar. I think again, it's a proxy. It's the best proxy we have. It's still a poor proxy.
Yeah, of course. How are you thinking about we're here discussing the biggest models, the best models. How are you thinking about smaller models, purpose-built models? These RL as a service was on the timeline. A bunch of folks were debating that. Is that an area that Anthropic has already started to work on with enterprise clients, is considering? You don't have to leak any news that's not already out there, but I'd love to know how you think about these like smaller purpose-built RL models for specific business tasks.
Yes. So on the one hand, I think we've seen a lot of value from small models being able to like dispatch swarms of sub-agents, right? They're incredibly useful in search. They're very useful in like going through a code base, finding stuff, reporting back to the main model. It's a great way to decrease costs, make things faster. So we've seen a lot of value there. I think long term, there is maybe a little bit of a tension between RL as a service and some like notion of really cracking continual learning. I think it's a little bit of a race between RL as a service and like can the labs crack continual learning? That being said, and maybe like one final note is, and I've said this for a long time, is I do expect things to eventually get to the point where large models only use as much computation as is actually necessary to achieve the task. Now, Opus is one step in this direction, right? It only uses as many tokens as it thinks it needs to solve a given task, and as a result, it's more efficient. And I think that ultimately will take away a little bit from the sort of comparative advantage of small models as large models get more and more and more efficient at only using the sort of right fraction of themselves to do things. But I said that 2 years ago, and it still hasn't happened. Yeah. So maybe it's a harder problem than people think, and it will. Than I thought, and it will sort of take longer.
What about model routing? How important is that within the context of coding agents, Claude Code, just the surface area of what Anthropic is building? How many layers will this have over time? How are you thinking about the development of actually routing to the most efficient model? Because it sounds like it's happening within Opus 4.5, but then there are also times when you might want to go to just a different model entirely.
Yeah, and it's similar there, where I really think that like ultimately something like routing is a little bit of a medium-term hack, I guess one could say, across different model sizes, where like ultimately you want everything to be like an end-to-end learned system, right? And it's similar to, I think we'll see a similar lesson as Tesla saw, where they're like, okay, actually everything's just one giant end-to-end learned system, as opposed to discrete components that have different purposes. But it takes time to get there.
You said earlier you could imagine a scenario where labs would kind of hold back frontier models because they would be effectively handing their competitors an advantage. What's your timeline around that? Do you think that's something that happens in 2026? Because right now there's a pressure to just be state of the art, like be at the frontier. Basically, there's a vibe war happening, and it's very important to constantly be topping all of the benchmarks.
Well, didn't Llama release with that same user agreement where it was like if you have less than 400 million DAUs, you can use the service, and it basically excluded all of their competitors.
Yeah, but I think that's pretty imperfect, because
sure.
there'd be a lot of ways that you could still get benefit without necessarily.
But how are you thinking about it?
Well, I mean, there's a suite of capabilities here, right? Like obviously you want, I think for general software engineering, everyone in the world should be able to use that. That's great. But let's say like if we train the models to get really good at assisting our own AI research, if we're teaching them mathematical tricks that we've thought about and we're not confident that anyone else knows, or we're teaching them sort of like how we do our infrastructure. Ultimately, we want them to know those things. We don't want the rest of the world to be able to recreate our infrastructure from scratch as a result. I think this is also similar to how we think about biology. And this is actually a line I think we need to like do some work on exactly how we draw the line here. But at sort of House View and Anthropic, we're quite worried about the ability of models to become much better at biology and sort of producing novel viruses and this kind of thing. And so as a result, that we have like all these safeguards around whether or not the model is able to do and help people with biology. It actually, at the moment, I think the safeguards are a little bit, they err on the overactive. I know many biologist friends who are frustrated because it doesn't quite, it doesn't
They're
help
like,
them on
please,
the,
I can be trusted with biological superintelligence.
Yeah,
I will
exactly,
not. I will not create. I
will not create a
the next
virus.
pandemic. Yeah.
We're erring on the line of safety here, and we're navigating to finding the exact right pathway there.
Yeah.
Probably the most important question I have: what are your timelines around a humanoid robot beating a human at fencing?
Oh, very good question. So, I mean,
As an expert.
As an expert. At fencing, the unitary robots are pretty good at backflips and stuff. They're a lot better than backflips than I am.
Yeah.
So
I know, but fencing takes grace and finesse and all these things that we're not seeing in
also
a lot of these.
Physical size, right? Isn't height an advantage in fencing and reach and length? And I believe those unitary robots, I think Sholto, me and you got a foot on them easily.
We do.
Sholto's a big guy. People don't know, but everyone on this call is over 6 feet. People just assume they see a talking head and they think, oh, a bunch of five guys.
Yeah.
Not true.
Maybe sports are hard. Maybe mid 2030.
Mid 2030.
Whoa.
Okay.
I'm really excited for.
I'm not feeling the acceleration. I'm sorry.
Sell everything.
Sports are hard. I think we get dropping coworker in 2 years, and I think fencing robot takes a little bit longer.
Well, that's your fallback
funny.
plan. If you lose your job as an AI member of the technical staff, you go back to fencing.
What swordsman in the world? It's going to be great.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I can't wait to teleoperate a robot like manga style and fight. It's going to be
That's going to be wild. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, somebody was saying that some of the bull cases for some of those humanoid robots is that you just all get in VR and you just get to go hang out with your friends as robots and do whatever you want, and you're just hanging out in person. Very funny. Last question from me, from our intern Tyler, who's wearing the thinking cap. Thank you for sending it over. He's a huge fan. There we go. Do you expect mechanistic interpretability research to make meaningful contributions to capabilities, not just safety of the models, like actual capability results?
Yeah, great question. One of the interesting things about mech-interp work so far is that it's already lent, I think, to a lot of capabilities or progress because of the mental models that are provided. Mm-hmm. I think actually after the original Transformer Circuits papers, it was interesting how the language of that paper ended up really dominating the mental models and the way that people thought across multiple labs about what actually was going on inside Transformers. And it led to, I think, a much deeper and richer understanding of what they are. So I think it's already helped in quite a diffuse way, not a concrete way, but in a diffuse way. In terms of the concrete ways, dial up the smart neuron or something like this. That I haven't really seen yet, and I think it's mostly the sort of future work is going to be mostly in an alignment direction. But the sort of rich understanding and the rich understanding has helped us a lot in terms of actually understanding how to train these models.
I have one extra question.
Go for it.
Tell me a little bit about Dario's communication style. I was hearing a story about, I think Jensen has no direct reports he like everyone reports to him and no one reports to him. He has no meetings or all the meetings, and he reads
60 direct reports.
He has 60 direct reports, but no big meetings, and he has but he reads everyone's to-do list like every single day or something. What's it like at Anthropic? What is Dario like as a leader these days?
Yeah, Dario has a really, really cool communication style, which is that he quite frequently puts out these very, very well-reasoned essays.
Yeah.
And then like throughout Slack, we'll have giant essay length like comment debates with people about different topics. It's really great.
Yeah.
You get these, but the essays are really nice because you can go back and read all the past ones, and it tells this history of Anthropic.
Yeah.
It's I think in many respects, like it will be one of the better things, in a decade from now, to chart the history of AGI.
Sure.
We'll be reading these like compendium of essays.
Yeah.
And there's like there's incredible comment threads on either side of them and so forth, but also throughout Slack, he's very open and honest with the company. Whenever we're debating different things, he will lay out the pros and cons and how he's thinking about them, and why this one's a tension and why that one's moral struggle. And people will write back big essays on why they think we should do X or Y, and he'll respond. It's quite a joy. It's a very written communication style.
Yeah.
As a result, it means that many people, or really the entire company, have a good model of how he's thinking.
Yeah.
And that really helps because it means that you sort of have a coherent sense of direction across the entire company.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I like that a lot.
Cool.
Yeah. So many examples of successful founders who have adopted the written culture and seen great results. I think.
And he's a great writer. Example. I mean, read Machines of Love and Grace, and it's just such a brilliant essay.
That's great.
You're absolutely right.
Have you ever caught him using AI? Has he ever been like, oh, this one, he was phoning it in?
Not yet.
Not yet. But maybe soon. I mean, it's kind of a bull case if he does wind up saying, could Claude handle it? I'm going on vacation for a couple days. I'm the dropping coworker.
I'm pretty sure we measure loss on his essays.
That's good. Yeah. But right now, I mean, there's a high bar. But congratulations. Thank you so much for taking the time to hop on the show.
Yeah, super impressive. Congrats to the whole team.
We'll talk to you soon.
Great to see you.
See ya.
Ciao.
Bye. Back to the show, back to the timeline, back to Linear, Meet the System for modern software development, purpose-built tool for planning and building products. There is more OpenAI news, of course, more tech news of all times. OpenAI's hardware division, says Mark Gurman, built around Johnny Ive's secretive startup, has ramped up the hiring of Apple engineers. The group has brought on about 40 new people in the last month or so, with many of them coming from Apple's hardware group.
Hearing that Sholto interview, I'm disappointed. I don't think we're getting ads from Anthropic anytime soon, and I don't think we're going to get a mobile device.
Well, we are actually talking today to Quinn Slack, the CEO of AMP and SourceGraph. AMP is a frontier coding agent, and AMP is free. They introduced AMP Free, which is ad-supported and has a no-cost mode. And so you can now use their coding agent for free with ads. 40 people, that does not seem like cause for concern for Apple. I mean, I can't imagine how big their hardware group is, but it has to be, in the thousands, I would imagine.
Yeah, let's try to find out.
It's a huge organization. So OpenAI is poaching left and right from Apple's hardware engineering group, hiring around 40 directors, managers, and engineers in the last month from nearly every relevant Apple department. Mark Gurman says it's remarkable. So from what I've heard, this is Mark Gurman, Apple is none too pleased about OpenAI's poaching, and some consider it a problem. The hires include key directors, a fairly senior designation, as well as managers and engineers, and they hail from a wide range of areas: camera engineering, iPhone hardware, Mac hardware, silicon, device testing, and reliability, industrial design, manufacturing, audio, smartwatches, Vision Pro development, software. They got one from every single, they sampled every single division, I suppose.
Gemini is estimating that Apple has between 15,000 and 20,000 hardware engineers in total.
15,000? That seems like a lot. I don't know. In other words, OpenAI is picking up people from nearly every relevant department. It's remarkable, says Mark Gurman. Very interesting. I wonder how the comp structured, how everything will come together on those teams. I mean, there's a lot of people from Apple who going over to OpenAI. It's a greenfield project. It's probably really fun, probably really exciting, probably not the most mercenary scenario, but there's always that risk when you're poached.
If you're working at Apple and you're excited about AI, and you've been there for the last 3 years watching all this progress happen.
Yep.
at the application layer and
Yep.
the model layer, and not being thrilled with the progress happening at the hardware layer. This is like it's a wide open opportunity to like be working right at that intersection of the models and the hardware. And
there's a lot of
exciting.
AI engineers who have made moves because they don't want to be a GPU poor company, and it's weird because Apple's in this scenario where they're partnering with Gemini now. They're clearly going to survive. It's not a serious threat, at least not yet. Maybe if this device is incredible, but right now Apple looks pretty strong. The new iPhones are selling well. Like everything's good, but what's like from an AI perspective, it's got to be one of the worst gigs because you were in this sort of like openly hostile environment to LLMs, to scaling, to building large GPU clusters. And then, they're sort of playing catch up now, but they're certainly not calling up Oracle for $1 trillion of compute. You go over to OpenAI, you're just going to be immersed in a lot more higher risk taking, higher risk on.
I wonder, Gabe is asking if wouldn't that be bearish as the hardware group at Apple is responsible for the terrible Vision Pro? I do wonder.
It depends on who.
It was an incredible technological feat.
Yeah.
I just think they built the wrong.
I was just watching
thing.
a thing about a guy who 3D printed an adapter so you could use the strap from the Apple Vision Pro on the Quest 3 from Meta. And that really speaks to the fact that like the Apple Vision Pro, although it was too heavy, it has this screen on the outside that I don't think anyone wants. Like there were pieces about it that were clearly like the best. Like the screen is just the best. No one's debating that. The band, the knit band is very cool. It has this amazing device where you rotate it and it tightens up. There are a whole bunch of things that are amazing. It's just like as a package, it didn't deliver. But if you just want to, if your job is just like, hey, we got to put a screen on this and it's got to be the highest resolution screen, like, well, go to the place that developed the highest resolution screens. Like they did a good job. Sam Altman replied to one of our cards we put up on November 22nd. TBPN posted, on this day, Sama was rehired at OpenAI.
Got his badge back.
And Sam Altman replied and said, cannot believe this was only 2 years ago. Subjectively feels like 5. Yeah, what a turnaround to go from defenestrated to back in the seat and so much and have so much control over the organization that you're able to raise at massive valuations, broker all these deals, move the entire market. Just a remarkable run.
And put on such a masterclass in deal making that people are now sitting here being like, "There's no way that this would be a $500 billion company if Sam wasn't in the driver's seat."
Yeah.
So,
first, let me tell you about Fall. Build and deploy AI video and image models trusted by millions to power generative media at scale. Danny Zhou, who founded the reasoning team in Google Brain, now part of the Gemini team at Google DeepMind, he says, game over. And Carried No Interest, friend of the show, quotes it and says, I genuinely think OpenAI equals Yahoo. He's not assigning the variable. He's equating it. I've migrated almost all my workflows code off their APIs now. Ironic that Google will probably do it twice, LMAO. And I don't know about this. It's the pattern matching on the Yahoo example. We should have him on the show and actually.
Yeah, you were saying the other thing with the Yahoo example is it wasn't like there wasn't like the company was valued at pretty tremendously for a longer period of time. It wasn't like this binary, like one moment.
Exactly.
Change.
Like the peak market cap for Yahoo, 125 billion during 2000. That feels like it's just hard to pattern match perfectly to this. But I mean, it certainly would be poetic if that's the way it played out.
It is funny. Carried says, ironic that Google will probably do it twice. They actually created the transformer.
Yeah.
They released the transformer paper and Chromium to inspire themselves to grind harder, to sort of challenge the
giving
team.
everything
Just
free away. Yeah.
Give out all the alpha.
And for sure.
To just kind of like find their fire again.
Yeah. There was an interesting article on Medium that was sort of burning up hacker news that I thought would be fun to go through. First, let me tell you about Graphite.dev, code review for the age of AI. Graphite helps teams on GitHub ship higher quality software faster. So this person who no one can really understand who this person is. They don't necessarily exist on the internet fully. So there was like a question about that. This is like a very hacker news and turmoil segment. But Teha says, I reverse engineered 200 AI startups. 146 are selling you repackaged ChatGPT and Claude with new UI. And so basically the thesis of this article is that this fellow wrote a piece of code that looks at the marketing copy and says, what are they claiming? And then looks at the calls that happen when you actually interact with their AI features. So if there's a chatbot on this particular startup's website and you're chatting with it, and you look into the trace that's happening in Chrome, is it going to the startup server, or is it going to OpenAI server, or is it going to Anthropic server? That's telling. And then there's also a little bit of API fingerprinting. Basically, OpenAI has a specific pattern of rate limiting, and it's exponential. So if you're spamming the OpenAI API, it will, according to a unique pattern, tell you, hey, you've sent too many messages, cool off for 1 minute. And then the next time you do it, cool off for 2 minutes. And the next time, cool off for 4 minutes, then 8 minutes, then 16, right? And it gets exponentially longer, and you're on progressively more or longer and longer timeouts. But the shape of that curve and the specific timings are unique to OpenAI. And so if I'm a startup and I have the exact same like back off and timeout curve, well, then it's probably just OpenAI under the hood. At least that's the claim that's being made here. And so the finding in this article is that 73% had a significant gap between the claimed technology and the actual implementation. And so out of the 200 AI startups that this fellow analyzed, 54 companies either had accurate technical claims. They said, hey, we're using, like we have a custom AI model that we trained, and they did, or they're transparent about their stack. They say, hey, this is a wrapper. Like, we're a wrapper company, and so, our AI is powered by ChatGPT. We're partnered with OpenAI. We're partnered with Anthropic or whatever. Now, 146 companies, that's 73%, according to him, were sort of misrepresenting their technology. So either they said they had proprietary AI, and yet when he dug into it, it was OpenAI API plus prompts. Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, it's like kind of what do people expect? Like, is if you fine-tune, if you use the OpenAI API to fine-tune the model, which you can do, is that proprietary? Like, no one else has that fine-tune.
Yes.
Like, you're still calling the API. It's like, I don't expect startups to train their own full language models. That's like pretty unrealistic and like doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of confused. I guess.
Yeah.
I guess
it's a very cool study, but this tracks with exactly, like I would guess that 73% of AI startups are just reskinning.
Yes, and so 19% of the overall companies, the 38 that were analyzed in this study, found that that the startup said they had in-house models, and it was actually fine-tuned public models. And so it's a question: is like, whose house is it in? It's technically in OpenAI's house.
Wait, so fine-tune as in like fine-tune an open source model that's public? Does that count as a public model, an open source model?
Let's assume yes. And then the last 8% would, so they had a custom ML pipeline, and they were in fact using standard cloud services. That's even wishy-washier. I think that's totally fine, because like you can totally have a custom ML pipeline that's wiring together OpenAI and Gemini and AWS and a bunch of other hosts.
If I'm using a startup, I don't want them to train their own language model, because I don't think they're gonna, like, in 99.99% of the case, like, they're not gonna be able to do a better model than OpenAI, Anthropic, Gemini, Grok. Like, I want them to use the best model.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, you can fine tune it or whatever.
Yes, I agree.
And that's totally fine.
And so the author also agrees with you. He says, here's what really shocked me. I'm not even mad about it. Every time I saw the phrase our proprietary language model, I knew what I was going to find, and I was right 34 out of 37 times. And this is where it gets weird, because he says, here's the technical signature. And so the user submits the query, it posts to API/generate, and then with wrapper logic, it posts to api.openai.com/v1/chat/completions. And I have no idea how he's seeing the backend. It makes no sense how he would be able to do this unless there was just like a massive security vulnerability. Because what I would assume is happening is that the user's over here, the startup's website's here, and then the user goes to the startup's website, and then the startup's website on the back end talks to OpenAI and comes back. And maybe you could understand that, like, okay, the amount of M dashes, like this is telltale signal, but that's not what he's doing. He's saying that he was able to just literally hit like the Chrome inspect developer tools, look at the chain of calls and see that it was calling OpenAI from the front end, which is crazy because I didn't even know you could do that. It feels like if you were calling it directly from the front end, you would like potentially leak a key that would be able to put you on the hook for a bunch of bills. I would think you would want to authenticate that on the back end. And so he gives a bunch of examples of like RAG, and then he's exposing some margins, which is actually very bullish for these companies because he breaks down some of these and says that a GPT-4 API is 3 cents per 1,000 input tokens, 6 cents per 1,000 output tokens. So the cost per query for this hypothetical startup was 3 cents, and they charged $3 or $300 per month for 200 queries. And so the wrapper economy, this is 75 times direct costs. That's extremely bullish for that company. He found another one that was maybe 1,000x API costs that's doing some Pinecone embedding. And he also says, this is pattern number 3, the quote, "We fine-tuned our own model reality check. Fine-tuning sounds impressive, and it can be, but here's what I found. 45%, it was OpenAI's fine-tuning API, which that sounds right? It's a little bit of a step to be like, we fine-tuned our own model. It's like, no, you fine-tuned OpenAI's model, and then you got your own model from that result. It's a little bit.
Yeah, you're still fine-tuning it. I don't think there's that big a difference between fine-tuning.
Are you fine-tuning it, or is OpenAI fine-tuning it?
There's a fine-tuning API which you use to, and then a new.
But who's doing the fine-tuning? You or OpenAI?
Well, what do you like? You're not interfacing directly with the GPU.
It's like I went to the store and I bought a sandwich. Who made the sandwich?
I told them what to use turkey. I told them to put lettuce, extra pickle.
Who made the turkey?
I think it's more like you go to the store and you bring a sandwich to the office. And it's like, where did the sandwich come from? It came from the store, but like you brought the sandwich. It came from you. You brought the sandwich.
Yeah, this is better. I think you're right. Anyway, 22% of the time it was a Hugging Face model with Allura. 18% of the time was Anthropic Claude with a prompt library. 8% of the time is literally just GPT-4 with system prompts, and 7% they actually train something from scratch. And all of these are odd, and there's a lot of debate over how this would actually happen, because he's basically saying just open DevTools, go to the network tab, interact with the AI feature. If you see api.openai, api.anthropic, or api.cohere.ai, you're looking at a wrapper. They might have middleware, but the AI isn't theirs. And so it just opens up this debate about, what is the value of the wrapper? I mean, certainly if you can resell something for 100x because you have some sort of clever
workflow
prompt or workflow, more power to you.
Yeah, it's not exactly like bearish on the companies yet.
No, but the debate that was surrounding was more around. So this author claims that after posting this, 7 founders reached out privately. Some were defensive, some were grateful. They asked for help transitioning their marketing from proprietary AI to built with the best-in-class APIs, because some of these founders did I guess, feel like using proprietary AI as a marketing tagline was disingenuous. And then someone else, I think I saw something that was one VC reached out and said, like, I'd like you to audit my portfolio because I have been told that I was investing in companies that were training their own AI, and I made the investment on that assumption. And if I'm being lied to, then that's potentially securities fraud. And so there is a question about if you go. I mean, I've seen pitches for companies where they've said, like, proudly like you should invest in this because we're not training our own model. It would actually be a mistake. And there's another company that's a competitor to us that is training their own model, and you don't want to invest in them. You want to invest in us because we're going to burn your dollars better. We're going to much better economics. And so all of it the only thing that matters is like being upfront with the investor for sure. And then to some degree, you do need to be upfront with the customer, because if the customer, there is a marketing value to, if you work with us, you're working with these, genius AI scientists who are going to build their own models. And if it's just repackaged ChatGPT, that might not be what you want to pay for, because at that point you might just say, hey, like actually, if I can just get this directly from OpenAI, I'll just go buy it from them. Anyway.
Thoughts and prayers to friend of the show, John Palmer. He says he just found out my wife is leaving me. She said I'm not legible to capital.
Love it. The legible to capital meme is fantastic.
I do think that Will, he made a new meme.
Fantastic coinage. I love it.
It's an absolute ripper. We'll be using it.
Well, let me tell you about Fin.ai, the #1 AI agent for customer service. It's AI that handles your customer support. Timeline is in turmoil over Nucleus. Former guest on the show 2 or 3 times, Keon, has founded Nucleus for IVF, and he put up a Subway campaign that says IQ is 50% genetic, height is 80% genetic. I completely disagree with that one. It's entirely skill-based for me. The genes did not matter. I had to grind for this view, grind my growth plates, I suppose. Have your best baby is what it says. And it says IVF done right in the Subway all over New York City. There's a ton of debate going on.
And to be clear,
I think accurate.
I think it was intentionally trying to make some percentage of the population angry.
Yes.
To drive enough energy and attention to this was I would call it rage bait.
I would call it rage bait marketing, not necessarily
not
rage
at the
bait
product level.
But IVF as a category is a controversial category, and so it's much easier to wrap it in a campaign that will go viral for upsetting reasons. You can upset people and you can get a lot of attention from that. This is an example from Kath Korovec. She says, so eugenics is profitable now? And so being able to wrap something that is just a scientific process that's been worked on for a long time.
Seems to be somewhat friend.com inspired. Keon's original post, he says, Nucleus Genomics announces the largest genetic optimization campaign ever, which is just funny because, a friend was saying this is the largest out-of-home campaign ever. And now Keon is saying this is the largest genetic optimization campaign ever. So narrowing it down, but full station blitz at Broadway, 1,000+ street ads across New York City, 1,000+ subway car ads, dozens of urban panels throughout Soho, and apparently they're not able to offer the service in New York. I saw that in here. I think
so it's really just an image of a controversial phrase on a New York subway is more likely to go viral. So you do it there because it looks like you're on the global stage, and then you pull
There's a high density of people that have a large following.
Audience, following. And so it's just the way to start a viral trend and own the moment. It's the reason why, so many TikTokers are in Manhattan now doing stuff like man on the street stuff. It just like, it has more like aura almost. Well, Dr. Shelby liked the mind share grabbing that Nucleus did, says every biotech founder should be seeing this and understanding how to get 1/10 the mind share of Nucleus. I have a playbook for you below. A lot of people are like, I love the playbook. I don't love this example because the company's getting dragged. I don't know if it's good or bad with the rage bait thing. I think usually it's a negative thing. Usually it's hard to come back from. Occasionally it can be done in a way that's slightly enraging, but enough people are in on the joke that they appreciate what's happening and they appreciate that it breaks through. Or it's enraging to someone who's not the core audience, not the actual customer, and so it's okay. But it's a big debate because Sichuan Mala posted a long essay all about the claims made by Nucleus. Keon says everything levied unto Nucleus by Sichuan Mala is false, worse than false. It appears to be architected by a competitor that has repeatedly published misstatements and inaccuracies. Sichuan is compromised, but it gets worse.
To be clear, no evidence has been provided that it was being levied by a competitor.
Yes.
So that's purely an allegation that has there's no proof.
Yes, exactly. Sometimes there's DMs that leak and there's evidence, or someone comes forward and says like, yeah, I was actually paid to post that. But so he says, I've been informed that Cremio I don't know how to pronounce that last thing. Cremio, who's been on the show also, he claims he's a race scientist in chief, has been paid off by the competitor to promote this nonsense against Nucleus. For the independent scientists repeating this libel. Cremio denied that as well. I would encourage you to do more diligence on who you're aligning yourself with. Our scientific team will issue a point-by-point response, which I believe they did. Unfortunately, though, this isn't about science. It's a concentrated attempt to cancel Nucleus on the backs of our successful campaign and build in efforts to build and advance the industry, which benefits the very people attacking us. The mob are trying to cancel Nucleus. Keep tweeting. Stay mad. We'll keep building and serving patients. P.S. We won the injunction. Link below. So they were sued by their competitor.
But so they won the injunction, but they didn't. That doesn't mean they won the case at all.
I mean, that's a classic thing. If you're getting sued, to be like, the case was dismissed, and it's like one of 5 cases against you.
But in this case, they won a preliminary injunction, which means that the case is just still progressing. And they still have to fight it. It's not. A lawyer would file a preliminary injunction because they believe they had such a slam dunk case that they could prevent a lot of basically going a lot further and spending more money in the case. And so a judge might say, hey, this is actually, it's not clear enough for me to make a decision right now. We're still going to proceed with the case and give both sides an opportunity to continue to make their case.
And then there was a little bit of like a twist in the fact that Roy Lee, the founder of Cluely, apparently had worked at Nucleus Genomics. Very great. And Cremio posts a screenshot of Roy Lee back in February of 2025. So literally just like months before he started Cluely. Very grateful to Keon and the Nucleus Genomic teams for taking a chance on me the summer before Columbia and introducing me to the startup world. If I've ever seen a $1 trillion company and team, it's Nucleus. And Cremio says he's obviously lying to cover up after getting caught doing fraud. An additional piece of background information people should know is that this fraud also employed the guy behind Cluely, the cheating company. And so Cremio is being very, very hardcore in his assessment. Just actually calling Keon a fraud straight up is much more aggressive than just saying like, you know, some of their claims are maybe not legitimate. It's unclear. Like, you know, fraud is technically a crime that you need to be convicted of in the court before you are a fraud. But it's certainly he's putting his credibility on the line, because if Keon comes out and says like, yeah, I'm actually not a fraud, I did it, I prove it wrong.
I mean, the main thing here is it appears that the customer reviews are potentially fictitious. And if you're selling a service that allows people to pick their baby and you're showing reviews from happy customers that may or may not be real people at all, like that just feels deeply wrong. So I think that one of the first things that they could have done, I don't believe they have, is just say like, no, our reviews are real. We used AI imagery because the real people didn't want their identity online tied to this service, right? For privacy reasons. But I haven't seen anything. Like this. This guy Adi had a good point. He said one of the core tensions in this industry is the fact that most companies recognize they're working on an incredibly sensitive topic. They know the general population will need to be slowly and tactfully acclimated to the idea of advanced family planning. Nucleus is perceived as polluting the commons with their deliberately inflammatory marketing. Their virality comes at the cost of increased skepticism for the whole industry. So
a lot of folks were not very happy about that. Keon has replied, and if you want to dig into the actual scientific claims on either side, there are long posts where you can go through there, but obviously AI generated blog posts are alleged. Plagiarism in the Nucleus Origin white paper, errors in there, blatant falsification, terms of service are contradictory.
Yeah, they also apparently they hired 2 people that had a non-competes for 18 months. Those people just immediately started on working on Nucleus. Nucleus claimed that they weren't competitive, so the non-compete didn't apply. Yeah. But if you look at the companies and what they offer, it seems very clear that they are competing. So, anyways, very messy story. Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. Will O'Brien says, David, I'm so sorry now, man, but you guys are doing an absolutely terrible job at responding to this blog post and seem to be missing the point here. First of all, it is a huge claim to say that every claim by Sichuan Mala is false with absolutely zero evidence or explanation. Show receipts. Second of all, you make the claim that the person is paid off by competitors of yours, again, with zero evidence. Third, that you make the claim that Cremu is paid off by your competitor. This is bogus and not true, but most importantly, you guys have made 0 points of substance here rather than just insinuating you guys are leaping ahead and others are jealous. You are selling a scientific product and someone has made a scientific critique in good faith, waiting to be corrected and explicitly saying they will make changes if they are proved wrong. And the best you guys can do is accuse them of being paid off and reply with memes. Not a great look. Yeah. Look, I want to see startups with a bold vision succeed, but how you communicate with the broader world is so important, especially with a product like yours and how you guys are carrying on in this honestly pretty lackluster. So, yeah. Again, I don't. Yeah. At this point, Keon's been on the show. He's very funny, high energy. We've had some enjoyable conversations, but if I'm a potential customer of Nucleus at this point and I see just these series of exchanges, I'm certainly going to wait and see how things evolve versus signing up to use this service too.
It's just so different than Cluely. It's so different than Cluely because if I use Cluely and I'm like, oh, like the notes that were taken in that meeting weren't that good. Or like if you go into Cluely being like, I'm going to cheat on this test. And then it's like, oh, it didn't work. Like their engineers aren't good enough to really help you cheat on that test. You're like, okay, well, I probably shouldn't have been cheating on that test. It's like the lowest stakes thing possible.
Yeah, but
right?
when you're
but this is like literally deciding who
your child,
your offspring will be. It's the highest stakes thing.
The quality of the product could very well contribute
echo for generations, literally
generations.
That's exactly what it does.
Not even just the child's life.
Yes,
the life of the child's
child. Yes, it is extremely
and the child's.
It could alter the course of history. It kind of could. It's sort of crazy. So yeah, it's hard because viral marketing does work. Moving fast and breaking things does work in certain contexts, but in the bio,
in bloodline
medicine,
optimization,
it's really, really high stakes, and so you got to be extra careful for sure. Well, let me tell you about Profound. Get your brand mentioned in ChatGPT. Reach millions of consumers who use AI to discover new products and brands. Will Brown has a funny post here. He's just got a recruiting email from a company explicitly mentioning that they have 75th percentile comp. That's so funny to me. He says, we're assembling a B+ team and have raised an okay-ish amount of money from pretty good investors. It's so good.
Somebody should actually run this.
Yeah. I love Prime Intellect. There's such a fun crew over there. We got to have them back on the show soon. I think that I won't leak anything, but I think there'll be some news soon, hopefully. I'm very excited for them.
Yeah, we got to hang with Vincent.
Yeah, it was
Saturday.
good. It was fun. So OpenAI has an announcement. They're introducing shopping research, a new experience in ChatGPT that does the research to help you find the right products. They clearly were listening to me on the show just a few days ago when I was saying I would be using this for the holiday shopping period. Very exciting. I wonder how it will actually play out. You, of course, had that problem with Cars and Bids. ChatGPT was not identifying the fact that GT3 RS had been sold 2 years ago.
Yep.
Thankfully, we have Doug DeMuro here in the Restream waiting room about to join the show. We can talk about Cars and Bids. We can talk about cars. We can talk about artificial intelligence.
Welcome.
Hopefully. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
So
for
great to
joining.
have you on. We are a technology and business show, but your name has come up probably 100 times independently just when we're talking about
100%
cars. So it's so great to have you on the show.
Yeah,
thank you.
We're huge fans.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here. I really am.
Thanks so much. I'd love to know. I mean, we were just talking about this OpenAI shopping research in ChatGPT. It feels like there's really no substitute for watching a Doug DeMuro video to actually understand the quirks and the features of the car that you're considering purchasing.
Yeah, I had been critiquing it. The context is like I was trying to use ChatGPT to find a specific car.
A GT3 RS.
A GT3 RS, and it fully missed every car for sale on the internet. There are many of them, and it found one that had sold on Cars and Bids like 2 years ago. Yeah. And I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for nothing. But good job showing up in the results.
Are you getting any leverage out of AI tools at all for what you're doing these days?
Well, that's an interesting question. The business, the guys who are on the business side probably are using AI a little bit more than I realize. Yeah. From a content perspective, not really. Not really. I just don't find for myself at least, it's quite ready yet to do kind of the stuff that I need it to do. Like finding the little quirks of the cars, it just doesn't have the knowledge quite yet. There. And like you said, nothing quite replaces like an in-person guy. I still think people want to see that, at least for now.
For sure. There's also the question of like, where should the AI live? Because there's this war of like, do I need an AI chatbot on carsandbids.com, or do I need to be able to take a URL from carsandbids.com, drop it into a chatbot, and then chat with the page and compile some reviews and interact with it that way? Or will it be at the browser level, or will it be at the iOS level, and I can just ask Siri? And all of this is like kind of being fought out across all the different tiers of the stack right now. But on the Cars and Biz topic, like what is the actual incremental gain right now? Like what is it? International expansion, new features, just more inventory? Like what is on your like list of wins from this year, and then what are you excited for going into next year of like things that you might check off the list?
The biggest thing we did over the last 12 months, I would say the biggest thing we did is we finally added vintage cars to Cars and Bids. Yeah. And so we used to be just 80s and up cars. Yeah. And I was kind of sold on that. Like I just wanted to do 80s and up cars, what I'm primarily interested in. Yeah. But our audience was really kind of pushy about it. Some of our dealers who sell with us are like, why can't I sell everything here? This is stupid. And so we changed it. We added 80s and up, but also we've just done a great job of like getting everything streamlined. Our goal is to like get cars listed, get them live, get them going. Yeah. I think of all of the auction or car selling platforms, ours is probably the most technologically easy, I would say, both to navigate and to sell and to buy. And I think it's sort of the youngest focused. And so we really wanted to make sure that our processes reflected that. And I think they really do now.
Do you have a grail car in the vintage category that I know you don't like the vintage cars, but is there one that would get you to, if I had to pick one, like that's the one you'd want to sell on the site, or maybe even potentially own yourself?
It's funny. I'm not a big vintage car guy, but I do own a Countach, a Lamborghini Countach, which is mine is a 1983 model. It's 43 years old. I don't know if people consider that vintage. To me, if when I drive it, it certainly feels vintage. It certainly smells vintage. But I'm a big old Lambo guy, and so having those kinds of cars, old Ferraris, old Italian in general, I think would be cool to have on the site. Yeah. But obviously, still our biggest focus is sort of on the modern day stuff, and I think we do really well with them.
Yeah.
So many things I want to talk about. I guess one question that maybe we could kick it off with is: do you think the increased attention around F1 could actually positively impact car culture in America, or is it kind of the opposite? Like car culture in America has always been so big, people are like, oh, at this F1 thing, maybe I should pay more attention to that.
That is a really good question. You're a host of a of a podcast where you that is a really good I've never thought about that, but I think that's exactly right. There's a lot of people who are getting into cars for the very first time because of F1. I have friends, I'm on Instagram, I have friends who are at the Vegas race posting pictures who I know are not into cars, but like they're into F1. And obviously if you watch enough cars drive faster on the racetrack, you're going to start thinking to yourself,
Yeah, we were in Vegas for the weekend, and the entire race, F1 is like a terrible spectator sport, in my opinion. It's just like, oh, they went by. Oh, they went by. Like, if you want to actually, it's fun to kind of like maybe sit with the door open to the paddock and watch the TV, and at least you can hear them go by. But at the entire race, I'm just like, I just wish I was on the track.
I wish
myself.
I want to be on the track.
There. So I think one thing that might happen is more people get into actually tracking and racing cars because they're watching F1 and they're like, now I actually want to experience this myself.
The other cool thing about F1, there is a culture component to it, like watching the drivers and the teams and cheering for your favorite engine or team or your constructor or whatever, and that probably will get people into cars too, right? Like just beyond just sitting there and watching the cars go by in one corner when they have 12 other ones that you don't get to see anything is not really the most amazing experience, but like going for the weekend and like seeing a driver in the paddock or seeing the race team or whatever definitely will expand interest. And yes, you see the cars on the track, you're thinking, hey, I can do this, man.
Yeah. How do you think about track days, tracking track-only cars, tracking your cars? I had the experience. We did a track day a couple weeks ago, and I was like, of the car budget, I want to spend like 99% on track stuff and very little on like collector cars or fun dailies or any of that. I want it all on the track because it was such a crazy experience. I don't know if that's just like the honeymoon period, but I know you've always been like, the track is not something that I really collect for. It's not my goal. I want the cool dailies. I want the cool experience of the weekenders. But do you think that'll ever shift for you? How have you processed it?
No, I don't think it'll ever shift for me. I think that the realities of track driving, it's so much fun, right? It is an unbelievable experience. About a year and a half ago, my friends and I rented out Chuckwalla, just 5 of us, and spent the whole day just clowning around, which is a ton of fun. However, it's a lot of work. Like we had to rent a trailer to get us out there. Like you rent an ambulance for the day. It's like a day. It's like a real day. And after you finish it, you don't really want to do it again. Like I feel like I'm hot, I'm tired. You've taken big risks with your vehicles, and so you're like, okay, we survived that. I just feel like I enjoy it more on the road because it's just so much more accessible. Like my friends and I, several times a year, go up to the mountains, an hour east of where I live here in San Diego, and just clown around and have fun up there. Or I have an off-roader. We on the East Coast where I live in the summer. We go off-roading every day. That's a lot of fun. It's so much more accessible than racetrack driving. Racetrack driving is so costly. I mean, you're kind of hitting it on if you want to spend your fun car budget on racetrack use, you can really spend your fun.
Yeah, it's true. Is a cannonball on the bucket list ever?
It was. I drive cross country every summer, twice a year, and so it's impossible to drive cross country as a car enthusiast and not think about it. It's in your mind. It just has to be in your mind. But I have kids now, and like I got some money, and I got stuff to lose. I should have done it when I was 23, and it didn't matter, and I just could have gone, bombed cross country. I know you guys had Alex Roy, and I respect what he's done and how and just that whole thing. In fact, here's an interesting story. The other day, I drove to the hotel in LA where that finishes, the Portofino Hotel in Redondo Beach. And I pull up there, and I decided to get a selfie next to the sign so I could send it to Ed Bullion, Cannonball Ed Bullion. And I'm taking a picture of the sign with me, and a guy walks up and says, "Did you just finish?" And I'm like, no. And he's like, I did.
No way.
No way. There was somebody that
Some
finished
other guy comes out of the hotel and also says the same, that he had finished the day before. And I wonder, it must happen constantly. Probably every week there's somebody, every few days someone shows up there.
That's so crazy. It is crazy that the cops don't just hang out at the Portofino Hotel and just arrest everyone that comes in. It feels like at least you can give like $100 ticket and then just be racking them up if you're local municipality.
It should be like a ticket of honor. It's like I got a ticket at the Portofino Hotel.
yeah.
Believe it or not, there is a giant plaque there that says like the end of the Cannonball. I'm like, what is otherwise a fairly rational hotel? I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah. What about some of those other rallies? The Gumball. Have you ever thought about doing those or done them?
It's not my people. Not my people. That's a bunch of like, rich guys who want to put big decals on the cars and get drunk and go to strip clubs between the race. I'm good on that. I'm
not big into that world.
You had me at decals. I think livery is really hilarious when done properly.
It's been his dream to get full livery on his daily of all of our partners.
But it's funny because we're a podcast and we have as many advertisers as like an F1 team, and so there's a little bit of like a funny riff on that. But if you're doing it super serious, I can see it being a little bit over the top.
Is it true that you have an E450 all-terrain like me?
I did. I sold it and I got a Blackwing.
Oh, you sold it to get
to get the Blackwing.
My wife is driving our E450 wagon, and I'm so jealous of her. And when we sell it, I think we're going to get a Sienna. So we're going to probably go in the slightly opposite direction from the Black.
So I absolutely love the E450 all-terrain, but I realized I jumped the gun because I got I think I got like the exact same one you got, 2023, 2024, something like that. And it has the seats in the back that look backwards. And I was like, this is amazing. I'm also a dad. I have a 4.5-year-old and I have twin 1-year-olds now. And I was like, I'm good. This is going to be amazing. The twin little boys are going to be in the back. And then I look up the rules and it's like, they can't be back there until they're like 12. And so it's like, I'm not going to be driving like this vintage E450. It's going to be like completely broken down by the time I get there. I can just buy a new one then.
I once watched your video. Here's why the Mercedes Metris is the worst minivan ever made. And then you know what I did?
You bought one.
I was like, it can't be that bad. It can't be that bad.
You bought one.
I bought it because I have 2 kids. I was like surf van. I live in Malibu. I was like surf van, but you can just pile them in. And it was even worse than you kind of went a little maybe easy on them. There's so many little quirks and features of that van that are just so bad. It's like, how do we make a big box and then make it impossible to utilize anything?
Did the video not have any ability to convince you that
I purely like the aesthetic of it as a minivan over some of the other minivans.
It definitely looks the best. It's like a slab-sided, like looks like an old surf van like that people used to have, and it's a Mercedes. It clearly looks the best, but it is not the
best. John and I listen. We don't have time to listen to a lot of podcasts because we're constantly podcasting 20 hours a week ourselves. But we do enjoy
this car pod. Is a daily,
we do
a weekly listen.
We do, we both love your show.
And correct me if I'm wrong. It is actually the biggest automotive pod in the world right now.
Somehow we became the biggest I don't want to say without trying.
Congratulations.
Without trying, you can say it. It was effortless.
We didn't set out to be okay. Here's what happened. We took a huge investment in the company.
Yeah.
And so I ended up with a lot of money. And so I was just like, you know what? We came up with the idea to do a pod. Yeah. And when you have nobody that you feel like you have to answer to, you can be really free with the way that you speak. And I think that resonates with people on that podcast. Yeah, totally. Like when we insult people, which other people aren't really willing to do as much, like insult car companies or cars, I think people really appreciate hearing that truth. And I truly don't care if the automakers want to blackball me. Like it doesn't matter to me anymore. So it's worked out.
There's also a different thing if somebody like is going out of their way to get you this vehicle that hasn't been released yet, and it's hard to really, and then you just know when you're recording it, like they're gonna see this.
I wonder.
It's hard to speak. You got to give an accurate review, but it's hard to like go as hard as you can when you're with your boys on a podcast.
Do you think that there's a little bit of a benefit of like people don't buy cars on the day that they're released? Like if you were a movie reviewer and you were like, okay, I'm banned from all the theaters, I got to wait for somebody to give me the DVD, like it wouldn't be as good. But like if you have to wait a couple months to review a new Lamborghini, it's like the purchase cycle is going to be a while. And also those have entertainment value beyond just directly purchasing.
That's exactly right. Those are the two big points to hit. Number one, even if I'm not up on release day with the car because the automaker didn't invite me to the press launch, doesn't really matter. I can go get it from the dealer when it comes at dealers 60 days later, and the video is going to be evergreen for 5 years, the whole cycle of the car.
Totally.
And also, I mean, people are going to watch the video beyond just purchasers, so it doesn't even really matter. And I think that's one of the secrets of YouTube. Everybody's so obsessed with being like first to these car launches, and it is beneficial. It does help. But I guess when your channel has gotten to the size of mine, I don't think it's quite as important. Like, I'm not sitting here thinking, how do I grow 50% this year? I'm just thinking, how do I retain the audience I have? How do I still make them happy? And being there day one is not necessarily essential.
Have you, maybe you've done this, but reviewing self-driving technology specifically? I was always interested in I have a Hyundai Palisade as well with a comma self-driving aftermarket kit in there, and it's fantastic.
Really?
And I honestly think it's remarkable. I've met the founder and I've used it. I trust it with my kids and stuff. I think it's a fantastic product. Genuinely, like one of the greatest modern consumer products in the sense that, like, for a couple $1,000 you get something that does something. It's really, really good. But I was always interested, like, that aftermarket. It's kind of the only aftermarket thing that you would even need to review. But I was wondering if you've ever looked into that genre.
No, I had no idea that one was that good. I've heard about it before, but I had never heard I mean, most people I think are nervous about it. If you're in the tech space, you're probably cool with it. But but no, I mean, I review the ones that come in the cars. But however, even then, it has become so ubiquitous now that it's almost like reviewing regular cruise control. It's almost not even worth talking about it because they've all gotten to be, I mean, a RAV4 has it standard, like it's no longer even that interesting anymore. There are obviously some differences between the systems, and some are better than others. I'm obsessed with the system in my Toyota for various reasons. Some people prefer, I mean, I don't like the ones that make you look forward, because in my view, that's kind of what I'm trying to solve for. But I understand that manufacturers prefer you looking at the road. It's a difference of opinion between me and them right now.
Well, now it's like a whole race where every time I talk to somebody who owns a Tesla, they're like, well, I have this hat and this pair of sunglasses, and if I wear the hat and the sunglasses, I can use my phone the whole time. And I'm like, okay, like, you're kind of with the comma, it's open source technology, so they have a camera that looks at your face, and if you look away, it'll beep at you, and then if you look down for too long, it'll disengage. So it's driver monitoring. But it's open source, so if you know how to program, you can technically just go in there and comment out that line of code, and it will never check on you ever again. And it's like, I don't know where the liability stands. The company doesn't recommend it, but the whole thing is kind of third party, so it's very questionable. I would definitely leave it on. I would recommend everyone leave it on, because I think the driver monitoring is good for safety, but it's interesting.
Saw some news maybe a week or so ago that Tesla is going to be integrating CarPlay. Was that like a surprise to you? Did you predict that years ago?
No, I definitely didn't predict it. However, obviously the Tesla owners, despite as rabid and obsessive as they are, there's this undercurrent of disdain for the fact that they don't have CarPlay. And also, it's gotten a lot harder to sell an EV in the last month, but also in the last 6 months and in the last year in general. And so that's an advantage. You're going to want to have every advantage you can, and so it completely makes sense to me that Tesla's pursuing this, and it'll now be on Rivian. And of course, General Motors, who has bailed on CarPlay, first in their EVs and now apparently generally. It'll be on them to see if they end up going back. I'm not as obsessed with CarPlay as everybody else. I find some of these automaker systems to be shockingly good. Most people don't even try them anymore because CarPlay is such a focus. And CarPlay is great. But I'm surprised Tesla made it such a big thing. Their system is so excellent. It's just like, I would just put up with that. But people are just so used to CarPlay that it's important.
It is such a different competitive landscape if you have CarPlay and the native, and then also NACS and the charging system is now standard. It's like, well, then you have the self-driving is the main point of differentiation. Maybe that's about it.
But even then, I don't find Tesla self-driving to be like considerably better. Now that I've been on these other cars, basically everybody has caught up. And I agree. I start to wonder what the differentiation point is. And then you also have this negative point of differentiation for a lot of EV buyers, which is Elon and the political stance.
Sure.
Not that I'm saying that everybody, but certainly there are people who have that opinion. 100%. And like, okay, that's interesting. And so having CarPlay back in is definitely like a step in the direction of we need to sell some damn cars.
If you're running Tesla today, what would you do from like a product offering standpoint?
Man, I don't know. That's an interesting question. All their products are really old. They have Elon is both their greatest asset and their greatest liability. I would probably do my best to come out with Roadster to try to get some attention on the brand and get some sort of halo car effect, like, wow, this is cool again.
Wait, do you have a prediction for the?
Yes. So Elon was on Joe Rogan and said that he was alluding to that the demo will be shocking and it will be something where the car basically lifts off the ground. He was saying, like, he was kind of alluding to it being a flying car, but I don't think anyone expects it to be like a full quad rotor, like, you know, full VTOL vehicle. But it's gonna have a trick. It's going to have a quirk. And I'm wondering if you have any predictions for what that might be. Like, we were talking about the Yang Wang jumping and stuff.
Right.
Like,
it's interesting because at this point, it needs to have a quirk, doesn't it? Because when it was announced 6 years, it's been 6 years almost exactly, right? It was 19 LA Auto Show. It was going to be this huge thing, 0 to 60 in 1.9, this amazing electric supercar. Well, since then, 10 other electric supercars have come out, all of which do 0 to 60 in 1.9, and the Yang Wang is jumping. So, like, you better show up with something at this point because you are so far behind everybody else in terms of what they've all got going. You basically need to have some sort of interesting hook now in order to differentiate yourself from these other products, which, by the way, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but all the other electric hypercars have been horrible sales failures. And it'll be interesting to see whether Roadster has Elon and Tesla and all that behind them. It'll be interesting to see whether Roadster can overcome some of the challenges the other ones have faced.
Yeah, I do think that comping the Roadster, I mean, if he can get it out at 200K, that's just a completely different game from a Rimac Nevera at $1 million or you know, Pininfarina Battista. Like those are just wildly different. And even if you have the money, I imagine that, like, the confidence of, like, a Roadster, like, you're going to be able to take it to a Tesla dealership, get fixed with parts and stuff. With a Battista or something, you're going to be in crazy hypercar, unique, one of one world Koenigsegg level. No one's really brought that down. Although, you know, Taycan Turbo S, there are a lot of options in that area.
Yeah, I mean, no, you're right that no one has really played in the space sub $1 million. However, first off, I don't think the Roadster is going to come anywhere near 200, just based on we've got a lot of inflation. Elon's missed those. Tesla's missed those price targets before, et cetera. But also, you know, the Taycan Turbo, the Ferrari SF90 has been a huge dud. Like, there are some examples out there of, okay, maybe people aren't really completely
just willing to buy anything.
What do you think manufacturers are focused on? EV manufacturers, like, are really focused on or have a plan for solving depreciation with some of these cars? Because, like, I buy a lot of cars. I cycle through them quickly. I tend to gravitate towards cars. Like, I've owned multiple G-Wagons because I just love that it's timeless. I know it's going to depreciate, but not at a very, very reasonable rate. And in that sense, it's like a practical buy, or it's at least way more practical than buying a fresh Taycan and losing, you know, 50 grand in a few months, basically.
I mean, the only real way to solve for depreciation is either supply or price, right? You can either dramatically lower the price and get more cars out there, which hopefully your supply then evens out, or you just make fewer cars. You know, I will say, I don't think depreciation has been quite as crazy as everybody else thinks, in part because I don't think the transaction prices were ever where the automakers were pricing the cars in the first place. Right? So the cars had stickers at 50, but when you factored in the tax credit and the discounts, they were probably really selling down at 37. And then, however, still, they are depreciating faster than gas cars and just unbelievably fast in general, except for Rivian, which has held its value relatively well, but still nowhere near something like a G-Wagon. The only way to really solve that depreciation problem is supply, pricing, or just increase the desirability of the cars. But I don't think that's going to happen.
How on earth has Rivian maintained a monopoly on the full-size SUV in the electric category for so long? I was expecting a Cybertruck, suburban version, like, immediately, and it just didn't happen. It's so weird
that the other automakers went pickups first. And I wonder if they were pressured into doing that because they knew the Cybertruck was coming. But it is so clear. When I get asked by people who want a car, I live in California, everybody's got an electric, everybody wants an electric car. The only thing I am ever asked is, I want a 3-row and I want a hybrid or an electric.
Yes.
And my response is, well, you're getting an EV9 or an R1S. And the EV9 is new to the market a year ago. The R1S has been out since 22. And it's like, where was everybody else? I mean, GM is screwing around with the Hummer pickup and the Silverado and the F-150 Lightning at Ford. It's like, what people want is just a 3-row electric, and the R1Ss are the real success story in terms of holding their value. We sell them on Cars and Bids. They are still not coming under 60 grand, which is considering that's a 3-4-year-old car, that's pretty good with the starting sticker of around 80. The trucks have depreciated a lot more. There's less interest in them. But yeah, it's wild that Rivian figured that out before anybody else. Everybody was like, oh, we're going to start with a sedan. It's like, why? What are you thinking? The market has moved on from that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Porsche now has the Cayenne Turbo you just reviewed.
Finally!
But even that's not 3-row. And I'm thinking, like, if you are like the true American family, I have 3 boys, 2 dogs, 2 Newfoundlands. Like, I need the huge 220-inch SUV soon, like, or the full size Escalade, like the Tahoe, like the Suburban. Like, this is where I'm going to be. This is my life for the next couple of years, at least, or the next 2 decades. Like, no one's really figured that out, and I thought it was. Maybe just like the laws of physics or something, like, oh, you can't make the battery big enough. But then you see the Cybertruck and you're like, you could easily just make the back like this and you're in business.
Oh, totally. And the Hummer EV and the light. Hummer EV. It's so weird. I guess they just saw volume in those pickup trucks, and so they decided to go. But totally, I mean, you now have the Escalade IQ also, which is not a very compelling product, but it exists, and it is another 3-row EV. It's clear that they're starting to come.
Even the Escalade IQ, though, it felt like they shrunk it down a little bit compared to just the full-size Escalade ESV, which is the one that people think of.
Right. And the interior really feels like that. The interior does not feel as big as that. You come out with a car that weighs 9,500 pounds and is that long. It really should feel a little bit bigger inside. I should be able to play paddle pickleball in that. And that's not the situation.
Yeah, for sure. Jordy.
How can you talk about European regulators? Because I feel like sometimes I see car companies, manufacturers making like what feel to be like nonsensical decisions that at least American consumers are not like saying like, hey, we want this. And I think it can oftentimes get, people will point to regulators and be like, there's actually pressure coming on the manufacturers on another continent, but how true is that, and what kind of role are they actually playing
that's an interesting question. Not a lot of people think about. Regulation plays a bigger role than you'd think in a lot of stuff. We just heard one this week. Mercedes is canceling all of their 43 AMG cars, which are actually quite popular. Here in the States, they're very popular. The C43 GLC.
Oh, interesting. Huh.
Those are all going away. And the reason is that they do not comply with EU noise regulations as of next summer. And it's like, that's a pretty successful and popular car. And I guess they don't.
And so the manufacturers can't create like there's precedent for creating like a European version of a car. Like I know the European Metris is called something else, but is actually a lot better than the American Metris.
They must feel that the U.S. market alone doesn't, or U.S. plus Middle East or whatever, doesn't justify the creation of such a vehicle, and so it goes away for the entire world. And that's true in a lot. There's a lot of compliance and regulation stuff just beyond that. But that was an example that came up recently that I was astonished by, because it sometimes affects popular cars. We saw it affect Boxster and Cayman, right? I mean, clearly Porsche is not really going to be able to continue making these cars as we think. Now they're rethinking that strategy, but it's still going to have some electric component. And these regulations are stuff that they're going to have to comply with. It's actually funny because you hear a lot of complaints. The Trump administration has come in and cut a lot of EV regs and pushed back on EVs. And there's all these complaints. I mean, U.S. regs were never anything compared to Europe. Europe has gone really, really, really strict about noise, about pollution, about emissions, CO2, in a way that is definitely affecting vehicles sold there, and probably does have knock-on effects on cars that are sold in the States too.
That makes sense. Do you think it's fascinating that some European regulators are pushing to take away cars that people like from European manufacturers while they let the Chinese flood the market and kill their automotive manufacturers?
Which is especially interesting because China's doing the exact opposite, right? China has really fenced their market and has really made it very easy for Chinese companies to sell cars and do really well, but has made it specifically difficult for foreign market companies to come in and do the same. Meanwhile, free capitalism has kind of had the opposite effect in Europe. And boy, you go to Europe now. I go to Europe every year or two, and it's amazing. Every time I go, 5 years ago, a couple Chinese cars. This last time, they are flooding, like you say. It's true in Mexico too. And Latin America in general. They make cheap cars that are desirable, and they're all EVs, so they fit the regulations. Yeah, it's certainly interesting. If I were the European automakers, I'd be like, what the hell? But
yeah, do they not, or do they need to like 10x their lobbying budgets and say we want to make cars that are fast, loud, and fun, and you got to protect us from like I just don't understand. Like these are like Mercedes is like a national champion in Germany, right? Like
you would say the environment is more important to us. My guess is they would say you are important to us. The environment is similarly important to us. We have to figure out a way to make this work. But for right now, China is already there where you probably should be. And we're trying to incentivize you to do that. It is surprising to me that they don't have more significant tariffs on Chinese cars and ways to kind of try to stop that. However, Chinese cars have also done an amazing job of mobilizing, especially Southern Europe, to be able to buy new cars for the first time in a long time. Southern Europe, they don't have a lot of money in a lot of cases to buy these cars, but these Chinese cars come in, they're affordable, they're electric. It's getting people out of Fiats from 2003 that pollute at ridiculous levels. And you got to assume the EU regulators actually they're like looking at it saying, yeah, it sucks that Fiat is losing market share, but here we are doing our part for global warming and for the environment, which is a big party over there.
I would just hope that was more of a fight between Tesla and the US electric manufacturers earlier. Like Tesla has been and Rivian have been like options for that solution. You'd think, I mean, obviously they need to bring the cost down, but there's, I think that there was a lot of pushback to Tesla in Europe years and years ago where they didn't think that they should go after that Southern European buyer. And so they never really got to scale it with like, the 2.9 or something, the cheaper version of the 3 to actually get out there or something like that. I don't know.
Right. And meanwhile, BYD is there now with cars that are this long that cost probably 18,000 euro. And it's like, hey.
Yep. I wanted to ask about modern cars.
Wait. One question that fits into this last one. Jaguar revamp.
Okay.
Team asked us to ask, European manufacturer going all in on EVs in a very opinionated way. Do you have any predictions on like first year sales numbers in the US?
Well, they haven't really shown a production car yet. So it's hard to make that prediction without knowing, hey, are they going to do SUVs, what price point, et cetera. I will say they weren't exactly blowing it out of the water before. So like, unlike a lot of people who watched that ridiculous commercial and have watched some of their product strategy and kind of laughed at it, I'm not sitting, we got a lot of comments on our pod, Jaguar, they're screwed. If you go woke, you go broke, we're going to boycott. They were already broke. Like it wasn't like they were out there really lighting the world on fire. So like, I think that anything is probably a benefit for them, truthfully. Yeah. But we'll see how they actually end up doing it. It's already been quite a while, and they haven't really announced cars or revealed anything coming. So that'll be interesting. I mean, the brand name is strong, but like, what are you going to do? It's just, it seems like a far-fetched plan for it to actually work.
Yeah. If you're already broke, why not go woke, I guess.
The other problem, by the way, that people don't discuss, the big problem that Jaguar faces is that almost all of their dealers are paired with Land Rover. And so at the end of the day, they cannot go after the SUV segment to the level that I think a rational company would wish to. Yeah. Right? We sit here and look at the success of the Model Y and the R2 or the R1, but will be the R2 and G-Wagons and just SUVs in general. And Jaguar doesn't, they did try SUVs, but they always have to kind of back them off what I think the market would want a little bit because Land Rover was there actually having the success.
Let's make an SUV, but don't make it too good.
Don't make it too good.
Yeah, and don't make it too off-roady or too boxy or too cool, which is what the market is really obsessed with right now because, literally across the showroom, we're trying to sell these things over there and they have a better name and you don't want to try to undercut that.
Yeah. It feels like the other market Jaguar could potentially go after is maybe like the James Bond wannabe, but they're competing with Aston Martin, of course,
which is not exactly crushing it either.
Well,
and they make gas cars.
It feels like they are. So I'd love to know, like, where do you see Aston going? I mean, the Valkyrie is incredible. The Valhalla we saw in person looked really cool, and like, there's just some incredible design stuff going on.
My point of view with Aston is like, I love Aston Martin. We were at F1 with the Aston Martin team because our friends from Public are a sponsor, and I love every single silhouette they do. I think they make cars that look absolutely incredible. But the problem is at literally every single price point for Aston, there's a more desirable car from a Porsche, from a Ferrari. And so it's like, that's just really challenging as a manufacturer because you're like, okay, we made we made the Valhalla, and it's like, okay, what Ferrari can you get for $1 million? And like, how many guys are really going to look at that trade and go for Aston Martin?
I think that Valhalla and Valkyrie will be and have been successful. I think the biggest problem is the volume cars, and I think it goes back to something that you said earlier, which is they have significant depreciation, and that's not a secret. Well, you buy a brand new Ferrari, and you're not going to lose money. In fact, if you're lucky enough to get chosen to buy a brand new Ferrari, you might make money. Yeah. You buy a brand new Aston, holy crap! Used DBXs are already 75, 80. That's their SUV. Used Uruses are still like 175, and the price point is pretty similar new. And which one would you rather get? Aston, I think, actually makes some pretty compelling cars, even relative to rivals like Lamborghini and Ferrari and Porsche. But you go into the dealer, and there's 12 of them sitting there at the dealership. They can't sell them. They do big discounts. They make too many cars. The price points are too high. And that's as beloved as that name, Aston Martin. We all want an Aston Martin in our minds. But when you actually start to look at the particulars of what that would entail, nobody wants 150 in depreciation.
Well, they didn't even have car. I mean, you buy a Aston Martin from 3 years ago, and it had the interior, it had the screens from like a car from like the early 2000s, and so I do wonder if the depreciation problem gets a little bit less bad now that the interiors have modernized substantially.
They've improved, but at the end of the day, there's still a lot of Mercedes-Benz technology. And when you're not using Mercedes-Benz technology, then another question about Aston Martin starts to become reliability, right? Mm-hmm. If they're making their own crap, then you start thinking, oh God, do we really want to be making their own crap? It's kind of a tough situation. And Ferrari and Lambo get excused from some of that stuff.
Yeah. Do you think that how many people do you think are frantically trying to re-register their cars to California after the Whistling Diesel scandal? Whistling Diesel, if anybody didn't see, was arrested. Happened to be ready to vlog the whole thing, which almost looks like he did a deal with authorities, which is like, hey, we're going to arrest you. We need to make a big scene out of this. We're not going to really throw the book at you, but we need to do this marketing for it.
I think it was all legit. I think he is always ready to vlog. I think his boys are like always at the shop. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sure.
But boy, that was a big deal. So many people in the community do the Montana thing. And I really think we did a big thing about it. It's on our pod last week. I really think with the advent of license plate readers and with states just starting to realize how pervasive this has become, it's just really going to start becoming more and more difficult to do. And as a guy who's got 4 very expensive cars registered to my actual home addresses, I watch the Montana thing and I think to myself, F you. If I have to pay, you have to pay.
Yeah, exactly.
I do feel bad. I mentioned this on the pod. I do feel bad for the guys who are doing it to get away from the stupid regulations like smog on a $15,000 car. And meanwhile, it's being ruined by guy after person doing it on expensive cars. Yep. There's a little hypocrisy there that I've decided smog is something that I'm willing to make an end run around, but I do feel that way. So whatever. Yeah. But I do think that Montana thing, so many people do it, and I think so many people should really think about whether it's the right call. Do you want to get arrested to save 20 grand on sales tax?
Yeah. Back on Jaguar to some extent, what is your current top pick for something that's basically a concept car that you hope it makes it into production? For me, I think it's the Hyundai Vision N that looks like a DeLorean. They might go. They said they were going hydrogen. I think that they should just do like the Ioniq 5N treatment and just electric, and it'll go 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds or something. Like they could do something cool there. But do you have any other picks for stuff you've seen where you're like, let's bring it in?
That one was really cool and looked really cool. Although I have to say, just a couple weeks ago, I reviewed the new Hyundai Crater, which is an off-roader concept car. Yeah. And from a perspective of a car that I think will sell, they should make that. Yeah. They body on frame off-roading has become such a thing in the last 10 years with the Raptor and the G-Wagon and the 4Runner and the Wrangler and the Bronco and off-road trim levels of every single car in existence, including minivans. Yeah. Hyundai has started to come out with some off-road trim levels, but it's pretty clear to me that like there should be they should go after the 4Runner. 4Runner is selling pretty easily millions, literally millions of units.
Wow.
And it doesn't make sense to me that that these automakers are not going after it more. I think Honda's insane for not pursuing it, but Hyundai and Kia have been much more aggressive and willing to be aggressive in these kind of segments. And I think that Crater is previewing a car that will exist in some form, probably not exactly like that with graphic displays on the windshield, but something sort of similar. I bet you they're cooking it up.
Where do you think that trend came from?
You know, I don't know. It's interesting. I was in Joshua Tree yesterday, and boy, there's a lot of LA people out there. Like, it's wild. Like, it has become such a thing. Yeah. Like, going out into the wilderness. I don't know. It wasn't a thing when I was a kid. It was reserved for like a select group of people. You only bought a Jeep Wrangler if you were like kind of crazy. And now it's like mom cars, and everybody's got a Bronco, and the 4Runners are this massive thing. And I don't know. Obviously, COVID exacerbated it, but I assumed that it would slow down when COVID ended, and that has not happened.
I wonder if it's some sort of like, you know, you're online all the time, you're on your phone too much, and then you want the exact opposite. And so demand increases for like, what is the opposite of TikTok? Like, get me to the forest.
It's also very American to like have an outdoor activity explode that's about bringing heavy machinery like out into the wilderness. So you
that still has screens, and you can still watch TikTok. But you can at least act like you're off the grid.
When I think about it, I was actually thinking about it this weekend because I was out there and seeing all this, and there's a camper in every parking lot, and I do wonder if like dads being more involved. When I was a kid, dad had a sports car. Not my dad, but in general, like dad had a sport. He would use it to get away. He would take it on a drive and take it to a show. And now like dads and families want to do this stuff together. And sports cars, you can't do that with your kids. And I've even watched the vintage SUV.
I got a Ferrari FF to try to get around that when I had my first kid, and it did not work that well. The electrical issues were like, if I drive this thing to the farmer's market and I stop it, it might not start again. So I got to make sure I start it at home and stop it.
But I am watching like Grand Wagoneers, right? An old Land Cruisers, and these are things you can now do with the whole family. And I think that there's been sort of a renewed push among dads and among families to kind of do, hey, let's do the vintage car thing together. And it's really become kind of a thing.
Speaking of dads,
part of it, but I think there's probably many parts of it.
Speaking of dads, speaking of firing dads, what's the best modern car that screams, "I'm coming to town to fire your dad"?
We have this big thing on our podcast that, we think that there are some cars that just say, "I'm here to fire your dad." It's just such a big old, like, this is a rich guy who doesn't care. The electric Rolls Royce, which is called the Spectre, that's a big one because it's got one of the things I like of fire your dad cars to me are cars where it takes up a lot of space but is unbelievably impractical. So that car is a massive vehicle, but it's got 2 doors. And that guy owns the factory. That guy, he comes in, he's like, I don't care this whole factory is closed. Be gone. And he takes the Rolls Royce off.
It's also so tall. We saw one at the airport next to a Urus, and we were like, it's a car that's taller than that SUV that's been lowered for performance. It's like
ridiculously large.
Well, I have a potentially new fire your dad car. Our friend Paul asked me to ask you, do you think Sam Altman paid $20 million for the Gordon Murray S1? It sold recently, and Sam was photographed in Vegas with Gordon Murray over the weekend.
And Sam has an F1.
Yes,
so
exactly. But that could be the new. I say it could be the new fire your dad because if ChatGPT takes your job,
it fires everyone's dad.
That is an interesting point that Altman may have bought it. I will say the commissioner. The story I've heard is the commissioner of that car commissioned 5 and personally selected, along with Gordon Murray, 3 people to sell 3 others to. He kept 2 and then decided to sell 1 publicly, and so. I would be not surprised if Altman is one of the 4 people who has them. He's obviously interested in these cars, and yes, he's there with Gordon. But maybe he didn't buy the public one. But who knows? I bet I wouldn't be surprised if he's got one. $20 million. That's crazy. Unbelievable number.
It's a lot of money, but it's a lot of car.
Any progress on getting into the Sultan of Brunei's collection? I feel like with all this investment and progress,
all I want, if I could just have a week to film videos in that garage, I would just retire. I would never
But how much, truthfully, like how much time have you spent actually chasing it down? Because I feel like if you go over there and you're meeting people and you're, oh yeah, I'll come to your holiday party and give a talk for free. Like there's ways to like.
It's an interesting situation because I have a suspicion, just based on some of the rumblings I've heard from either people who have been there or who have tried. I think that in Brunei, it's viewed as a bit of an embarrassment.
Oh, interesting.
That Jeffrey which is the brother of the Sultan, went and spent this much national money on just these cars, and if they created a museum, everyone I know would suddenly go to Brunei. I'm not joking. Like, I have no reason otherwise to go to Brunei.
I mean, it's odd because I feel like if they do regard it as a mistake, it's like, well, you got a great collection. Let's liquidate it. Sell it to Dubai. Dubai likes setting up museums. They have Mr. Beast land now. Get Brunei land going.
I totally agree. Yeah. I'm not even entirely sure that they want the publicity of the announcement that all of these cars are going to be sold off. And it's become clear to me that for whatever reason, maybe it's embarrassment, maybe they actually still want to enjoy the cars or have them, but it seems to me that there is a pretty clear reality that these guys do not want publicly to have a wide splash with the excesses of the 90s in that country, which I think is such a shame. Now, part of the problem also with selling all the cars is that they're all right-hand drive. So there's a little bit of a challenge into where they would have to be sold. There's only a few markets, but nonetheless, I'd be down. I have my Bentley Dominator literally sits right here, which is one of the Sultan cars.
Fantastic.
Commissioned a Bentley SUV before even Bentley had any idea of doing it.
Yeah.
Would you ever do a museum?
Like review cars from a museum, or
no, like the Doug Museum,
Cars and Bids activation or something.
No,
I am not a collector. I like to use the cars, and I like to be focused with the cars that I choose. And I'm never going to have a giant collection of cars.
But I meant more like if I'm a collector and I have a special car that I'm just planning to hold, and you were creating a museum, and you were basically saying, I'll store your car and maintain it, but
I create a museum of other people's vehicles. Yeah, I would maybe curate such a thing. I could see myself doing that in a retirement scenario. If someone gives the space and if someone takes care of the hard parts for me, I would curate a nice little museum.
There you go. I think it would be a hit.
What are the biggest moments on the calendar for 2026 for you? Either like moments that you're excited about from the car manufacturers, the world, or whatever, but also within your organization?
I'm generally just excited. It's an interesting thing. My world is nowhere near as varied as it once was. I used to travel all over the world and review the craziest cars, but I kind of filmed most of them. And now it's mostly just new cars. And I still get excited from a work perspective. I still get excited about the same things, which is just going in and reviewing the cars. We had the new Nissan Sentra in the office the other day. And I'm driving in the morning being like, I'm pumped. I'm excited. And there is still that excitement. There's not surprisingly, there is not specific cars that are that exciting for me. The new supercars are always a big deal, and there's going to be a few coming out here in quick succession, which is the McLaren W1 and Bugatti Tourbillon, and obviously I'm excited about those. But it's not just those cars. We get big views doing videos of Kia Tellurides, and I get excited about. There is something exciting to me about an automaker playing in a very competitive space, which supercars isn't. It's a more of an emotional thing, and a lot of times people buy them all. Whereas Telluride, you have to distinguish yourself with quirks and features from the Highlander, the Pilot, the Palisade. And so I always find it to be kind of just as interesting to see what those guys are doing, and they often have some cool stuff. They often reward me with some cool quirks and features.
Yeah. Have you ever
on Ferrari? Do you get sick of people commenting like "bring back Pininfarina"? Like, I just feel like every Ferrari video, it's like they're not coming back. It's over. Like,
do you think that?
Every Ferrari video, I go to the comment section across every channel, and my personal belief is that the cars actually look amazing when they're spec'd properly. I think they look really rough the way that Ferrari specs them, like for basically marketing press, right? And then I think once people with refined taste get in there, they end up looking amazing. So I'm not exactly like disappointed with the current design.
I agree. I didn't for a while. When they first left Pininfarina, I thought there were some questionable cars. However, the 296 is unbelievably beautiful. Yeah. And honestly, the Dodici Cilindri, which I made fun of because of its ridiculous name and also because of its design when it was first announced, I got to spend a day with one, and I totally feel opposite now. I think they're beautiful. They're striking. Ferrari is designing cars in a way now that is like at the forefront, at the cutting edge, rather than just sort of only going after beauty. With that said, Pininfarina and Ferrari have an unbelievable legacy together, and it would be nice to see them reunite in some form.
But what is
history?
Yeah, they did, but now it's been like more than a decade, and it's owned by an Indian like conglomerate. Like, are all the same people even still there? If they did partner, would it just be like just for the brand purposes?
Yeah, like Hasselblad is owned by DJI now. Like, what is that partnership? These companies, they change over time. They just become brands. They just become names, IP.
If they did partner, would it just be for brand purposes? Yeah, probably. But I bet you they'd sell some cars.
So
making out with if the 500 unit run of a Pininfarina designed car, that would kill. Just like if Ferrari did a manual, which I sincerely believe they should do. Yeah. I think that also would have, even if it was just for the purposes of making money, I think it would be successful.
On the Ferrari doing a manual, you get on the stump every once in a while with like, I want to change to what this manufacturer is doing or what the car community as a whole is doing. What's the highest confidence, like, I'm responsible for that? That maybe it's just like a tiny thing, but like, there's a lot of things where, you say stuff on the internet and then the change happens and you're like, hey, maybe they watched the video, maybe it was a factor, maybe it's just I got lucky and I was talking about the thing that they were already working on. But
I think very little do I actually feel responsible. However, when I bought my convertible G-Wagon 8.5 years ago, nobody even knew that car existed. And within a year, Kendall Jenner had one, and I did a bunch of videos, and I posted a lot of pictures on Instagram. I drive it on the beach with beach grass, and it looks amazing. Yep. And the values of those suddenly absolutely went through the roof. Yeah. Which was not the case when I bought my car. I paid $125 for my car, and if I could find another one for $125, I would buy 10. Yeah. And suddenly, 3 months ago, Mercedes announces they're coming back with a new convertible G-Wagon. You're welcome. And I don't think that I was directly entirely responsible, but I wouldn't be surprised if I played a little bit of a role in the cultural remembering that this car existed to the point where values kind of blew up. There's some influential people got in Mercedes' ear, and Mercedes was thinking, okay, maybe we can do this again.
Yeah. No, I think that's 100% right. It's you deserve the victory lap on that. For sure.
On that ridiculous car, which is such an embarrassing car to own that I don't even want the victory lap.
Well, we're giving it to you. You're directly responsible.
Other than that, though, I don't think I have significant. I mean, I've been harping for a long time about how automakers need to make more off-road SUVs, and that's happened. But I think also the market trends have made that pretty clear.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, Ed Bolian with the LP640 prices, he kind of discovered that there were far fewer of them than people thought, and so that obviously changed the price. And if you bring new information to the world, like, that feels like you do have an influence.
Now, in Ed's case, he's got a few of them, so you talk him up a little bit. That's a game I should have gotten into, and I wish that I had. But unfortunately, I did not do that for my own personal gain. Not that that's the only reason that Ed does it for me. Yeah, he's a shrewd fellow, and I think that played a role.
We're gonna see Doug with he has 200 SF90s, and now he's talking really positively about them. And he bought them at the trough of the depreciation curve. What's going on here? And you're actually, there's no electrical issues. I did all this extra studies, and the hybrid system.
Can we get Nissan to bring back the Murano Cross Cabriolet?
That is important. We are big fans here. We took your joke, and we've been running with it, and the whole.
And the sad thing about that car, I don't know if you know this, but the convertible tops fail, and so.
Just leave it down. I don't need the top. I'm just joyriding that thing. I never need the top.
California person, you don't
Does the SP1 have a top? No, right? It doesn't have a windshield, right?
Right. But those cars, eventually they will all fail, and that will kind of kill them, because apparently the Nissan's only solution is you have to replace it. There is apparently a shade tree mechanic guy in Florida who figured out the problem and is willing to fix it. Whoa. But you got to send your car to him. So if you live in the Tampa Clearwater area, you can get your top fixed. But otherwise, it isn't worth sending your Murano Cross Cabriolet.
We're trailering.
I mean, the Resto Mod community in 10 years will be going crazy.
Oh no! You know what we're doing? We're cannonballing it there and back from LA. That's what we'll do.
It's a shame that car was utterly awful in every way, because it is a very special product that could have a cult following if it wasn't so bad.
Yeah. It's very funny.
Anyways, well,
thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. This was fantastic.
Really enjoyed it.
Congratulations on all the success, and please keep the podcast running. We've been loving it. It's congratulations on the massive success there and with everything. And we appreciate you coming and hanging out for a while, chopping it up.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Thanks.
Let me tell you about Turbo Puffer, serverless vector and full text search built from first principles and object storage, fast, 10x cheaper, and extremely scalable. I'm also going to tell you about public.com, investing for those that take it seriously. Multi-asset investing, trusted by millions. Our next guests are both named Alex. We have some folks from Ramp, the creators of Ramp Labs, Ramp Sheets. We're bringing in
Ramp Sheets.
Both Alex's. Please kick us off with introductions on both of you, how you came to work at Ramp, work on this particular project. I'd love to hear the origin story. It's a fascinating product, and we're going to go into it.
Hey, I'm Alex Shevchenko. I've been at Ramp for now 2 years, started out and still am on the Applied AI team.
Overnight success.
And throughout these 2 years, I've been working on a bunch of like experimental things as part of Applied AI, and lately just been trying to wrap them up into Ramp Labs so that we can publish these things publicly.
That's great. And Alex, sorry.
Yeah, I'm Alex Stoffer, one of the leads of Ramp Labs alongside the other Alex. Yeah. And yeah, this is the place for AI bets at Ramp. Mm-hmm. We're really experimenting, going to the cutting edge of AI, trying to ship product that is actually outside of the current like Ramp mandate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys have nicknames yet? I feel like people would get confused. Alex, because you can't even just be like, oh yeah, Alex at Ramp Labs. You have to go further.
Yeah, just the last names, I guess. Shevchenko and
Shevchenko and so talk to us about the product. It feels extremely aggressive to go after Microsoft, to go after Google, not products that have massive user bases, and yet you're launching Ramp Sheets. Talk to us about the thought, the positioning. Are you going to try and replace the investment banking workhorse that is Microsoft Excel? Is this more for CFOs who are already on Ramp? How are you thinking about the product itself?
Well, originally this started out as an experiment, as everything within Ramp Labs is. We've been trying out different variations of this, actually, just to try to help our own internal finance team. Mm-hmm. This has gone, as I said, through many iterations. This initially was like process mining to document some of their workflows from video so that they can like communicate better between each other and to software engineers. And then we tried to take that piece and create like Zapier and like retool workflows based on them to try to automate. And we tried to get them to use it, and they were like, no, this is too black box. We can't really use this. We need visibility into it. Mm-hmm. And so we like took a step back and tried to look through the looms of like all the information that they were giving to us. And we jumped through like random locations, and 99% of the time when you like open their loom, it's like in a spreadsheet. So we decided we should like really meet them where they work and have a spreadsheet interface for this. And this doesn't necessarily need to be replacing anything. This can be an add-on to their existing workflows, right? This can be a quick way to create like a pro forma or something that they can then export to a CSV or an Excel file and then load it up in Sheets or Excel and continue their work there. Yeah. So that's broadly the.
So why build like a web version of a spreadsheet at all? Why not a plugin that lives inside of Excel? That's what Bloomberg and Capital IQ and most of the other kind of complementary systems have typically plugged in through connectors. You decided to build the actual full spreadsheet in the cloud, in the web. Why that decision versus just plugin?
Well, internally, we do have some more complex workflows that rely on like sheets and stuff that people can use. For this, as I said, like Ramp Labs is like the experimental branch, and this was an experiment that like got very, very large. And that's like the way to allow people to interface with it as quick as possible. We didn't need like access to your Google account. We don't need access to your Excel account. You can just go and try it out. and it's there, and it's available on ramp.com/sheets to anyone, not only Ramp customers right now.
Oh, cool.
That's probably like one of the biggest reasons.
For some context, like a lot of people think that there was a big team behind this, or that Ramp is like investing a lot of resources here. And the truth is that like 3 guys kind of built this in a cave pretty fast.
Scraps.
So yes, yeah. And we want to release it. We believe in shipping quickly and getting feedback from customers. We thought we built a pretty cool tool and just wanted to see how people would play around with it. So we released it last week, and then the response was overwhelming. There are 2 million impressions. Thousands of users joined immediately. They're making thousands of sheets every day. Places that you wouldn't imagine have been using it. It's popping off at Wharton with students and professors. There are many banks that are already using it. VCs, finance, people in the space industry. I got off call with a user who's based in London this morning, who's a VC. So it's astounded us, honestly.
What where are people getting the most value, or what kind of like work are they actually doing once they kind of play around with it and get a sense for how it works? Like, how are they applying it?
Yeah, there are a lot of interesting use cases. Some are personal. There are a couple of stories here where it's helping them plan their wedding. You know, these things can get incredibly complex, and you need a way to organize it. Another use case, an employee here is he's moving to New Jersey and wanted to find like the best place to live and want a model for that. But outside of personal cases, there is a real demand here, especially with founders, VCs, small businesses, especially owners of small businesses. They don't actually have like a large finance team, right? And it's incredibly valuable to spin up a model really quickly instead of going and paying a consultant thousands of dollars to just make a template for them.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Very cool. Where are you guys? Where are you planning to take it from here?
Yeah, there's a bunch of features that we're still working on. We actually shipped shareable links today.
Nice.
And then exploring what best templates, so like very, very intricate templates that you can take and create basically kind of these like pro formas right away, or like budgeting right away. And then as well as like integrating with Ramp itself, so that you can like actually export your spending data and like analyze it within Ramp sheets. So those are like the 3 biggest things right now.
Very cool.
It's amazing. The chat is saying, Ramp construct an LBO for this regional HVAC company that backs into a 25% IRR. Make no mistakes, please. Maybe one day. I mean, that actually probably is within what is basically one-shottable by the model in Ramp Sheets today. But thank you so much for coming and breaking it down for us. Congrats on all the progress. And excited to watch where it goes. Excited to see more people demoing it and taking it for a spin.
Incredible launch.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for having us.
We'll talk to you soon.
Great stuff, guys. Cheers.
Have a good day. We are going back to the timeline for a minute while we bring in our next guest.
We were covering OpenAI shopping research.
Oh, yes.
I didn't really get to, and Doug joined, but really think I'm bullish on this product. I think being able to effectively run a deep research report and then see all the information that you need on a bunch of different products, and then eventually just hit buy right from in the app is going to be like a crazy flywheel. That's like actually what people do today. They start Google searching, they find out what products are available, they find out pricing, features, etc., and then they make a buying decision. And if you can pull that all into a single sort of like experience, it's going to be very, very valuable. And this is effectively the deep research as a product that has better product market fit than almost anything else in consumer AI. And so I'm very bullish.
Well, if you're selling a product on ChatGPT, got to go to numeral.com. Let Numeral worry about sales tax and VAT compliance handled, so you can focus on growth. No, I agree. It'll be very interesting to see how fast OpenAI makes their first dollar from advertising or commission-based sales, how quickly they make their first million, their first billion from it. Like the numbers are so big, they need to get to tens of billions of dollars on those business lines fairly quickly. They're certainly the most optimistic growth areas for the business. And something that I think it's very consensus that if they get agentic commerce working, the pool of capital it's just very like the audience is already there. They just have to run ads. This is like proven. Whereas breaking into hardware, that's something that Microsoft didn't pull off with the phone, and Amazon tried to fire phone, and Facebook tried a phone for a while. It's not a sure thing, but it's almost a sure thing that if you have 1 billion DAUs using your website for 30 minutes a day, you can advertise to them. It's very, very proven. Before we bring in our next guest, let me tell you about Vanta. Automate compliance and security. Vanta is the leading AI trust management platform. Our next guest is Quinn Slack, the CEO of AMP. How are you doing?
What's happening?
Welcome to the show.
Hey guys, good to be here.
Great to have you.
Thanks so much for hopping on. I'm glad that we were able to get you on. We love ads. We were just talking about ads actually in the ChatGPT context.
No one likes ads more than us.
But fascinating.
I love ads.
Exactly. That's why I'm excited to talk to you.
Too.
Please introduce yourself and the company a little bit, and then we'll get into it.
I am Quinn Slack. I'm the CEO and co-founder at SourceGraph. We make AMP, this coding agent. Mm-hmm. I love coding, and I mean, AI is just crazy for coding. In Opus 4.5 today, it's mind-blowing, but it's also expensive, and that sucks because a lot of people can't use it. And it also means that we don't learn fast enough about how people are using it because it's a tiny fraction of the world that's actually using AI to code in the kind of unconstrained way that you want to if you're really going to learn. So we took a look at these problems, and that's how we ended up with this crazy idea of putting ads in a coding agent.
I love it. Wow. Okay, I want to understand what that exactly means. I'm going to pitch you like 5 different instantiations of that. One is I go to the agentic commerce route. I go to your coding agent. I say, okay, I'm ready to deploy this, and then it runs an auction to see, hey, there's a deal on Azure, so we're going to host it over there as opposed to Amazon. Or it could be putting ads for Amazon or Azure or GCP in the comments of the actual code. So when I go review the code, I see ads. Or it could be while it's cooking, it's showing me ads in the terminal. Like where are you actually surfacing these ads?
So the interesting thing about coding is you are in this all day long. It's not like Amazon.com ads where you go there right when you have that intent, but you also use the coding agent when you have intent. So we kind of get both. We get those, hey, you're asking it, I want to deploy, where should I deploy? Should it be on Cloudflare or whatever? But you also are staring at it. And AI coding agents are kind of slow. I'm not saying we make it slower so that we show more ads, but it's up on the screen and it knows what your tech stack is. So if you're Cloudflare and you see that they're using S3 and they're doing a bunch of dumb stuff with it, well, that's a great place for you to show ads about not only Cloudflare, but specifically which of their products is better and how much better. And then you click a button and the agent can go and switch you to it.
So, I mean, it feels like I love this thesis because it worked for Uber, and you've seen a bunch of companies where they've had a whole bunch of attention and they've just built big ad businesses, and Uber just shows you ads while you wait for your car. Basically, it's like it's not rocket science. It's like a pretty simple thing. At the same time, a lot of times when this works, it works because someone's created this pool of attention that there's just, millions of people open this app, or they're using that as they're staring at this particular screen and there's real estate. And I see that real estate in the ChatGPT app where people just open it up and there's a big blank screen. You can put an ad there or while it's waiting. But do you have to go and get people on board and get them off of competitor coding agents and competitive IDEs? Like, how much do you have to do to re-platform the customer to you and then start showing them ads? Or can you partner with other pieces of the stack to just plug in quicker?
We're going to follow this where this goes. So yeah, we're open to partnering with others. I think other people are kind of waiting and seeing because this idea was so crazy. A free coding agent and ads make AMP free in this mode. It's really compelling, and that audience is growing a lot.
Sure.
We keep making the model better and better. Like initially we had it so ads were actually covering more than our costs. Then we made the model 6 times more expensive, and now they're covering half. But now with Opus 4.5, I think it's going to be like probably covering 80% of the cost because it's actually cheaper. Wow. So we got to keep making the model better and better that it uses. And free AI is pretty compelling.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I already know if TBPN runs some ads in there. I know the copy. Develop an ear for TBPN.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I like it.
That's good.
I mean, you can go. Why don't you try it? Just put a few.
Is it self-serve?
Down.
Is the ad platform self-serve yet, or are you guys just doing it when I'm by hand for now?
You can go in and put the ads self-serve. It feels like all of a sudden overnight we are building this new ads business. My wife works at Google. She sells ads. I've seen the business, but there's so much complexity, and it's like a three-sided marketplace now. So we got
really doing God's work.
Truly.
Yeah, we love it. We love it.
I guess any kind of like comps to this, like that you've used to kind of like talk with advertisers about it? Like, is there another kind of advertising that's sort of similar in the sense of like, like clearly have people's like very specific attention at a specific moment in time where they're oftentimes making product and business decisions? Any kind of areas that you've learned from, or are you just kind of freestyling?
We're freestyling. It's a different place to put ads. And it's kind of hilarious that of AI products, the first place, I think we're the first or one of the first that it shows up in your terminal, in your editor. But I think the fact that it captures the intent and it's always up on your screen, it's different. So I would love it if there's more people doing this, but there's so many other companies we went to and they said, well, we kind of want you to take all the flames first. On the advertiser side, though, they were incredibly willing. Like we had a really high hit rate, and some of them, other DevTools CEOs, I would email them and say, "Hey, do you want to advertise?" And after a day, when they hadn't gotten back to me, I thought like, "Oh, they probably think we're total idiots." But then they got back to me, and they ended up doing this.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense, especially when you have when you can show an ad and have one eventually. Maybe it's not that way today, but basically one-shotting the implementation of certain products like that, just like contextual advertising in this context is going to be super powerful. Any ad haters pushing back yet? Obviously, I'm sure you have an ability to get people to you can opt out of ads. I'm assuming by just paying for the right tier.
Yeah. Well, we want to show ads in the more premium modes too. So we got to figure out that's when we're going to get the ad haters.
Actually, no. Actually, you can't opt out of the ads. You're getting ads no matter what. I love it.
Yeah. I think if you're not getting the haters, then you're not pushing the envelope enough. And so much of what we realized when we launched AMP Free is we should have been like 10 times bolder about it because it was received surprisingly well and it's making a lot more money than we thought. So we're going to push the envelope. But all of this just means more people can use code AI in a totally unconstrained way and see this thing that just blows our minds.
Yeah. I mean, it seems really cool for just like, I can imagine so many people. This is what I would have used in college. I definitely would not be paying $200 a month or something for something. I would probably be interning at a startup that or at a live show that pays for my AWS bills. But can you just zoom out for us and give us a little bit of what the corporate hierarchy is like, AMP and SourceGraph? Have you raised money? What are the shape of these companies and products? How everything fits together in your world?
Yeah, we started SourceGraph back in 2013, actually, with this idea, let's automate software development. And we started out building code search at SourceGraph. And that's like Google for all the code. Yeah. It's this, especially now with AI is doing like 1,000 times more code searches. Yeah. It is this critical infrastructure. We're the only ones doing it at that scale. Yep. And then we've also got AMP. So these two products under one roof, Code Search and AMP. Yeah. And AMP is the frontier coding agent. We're trying to make it a year ahead for 1% of devs out there and just be totally crazy. Yeah. And you might say, well, ads is incompatible with that. If ads is all about getting a big audience. But actually what ads do, they're in service of the research objective for AMP. It lets us not have to go and jump if some customer says jump with this requirement that's going to hold us back. It gives us so much more freedom to change the model, change how it works. So, in that way, ads, it actually does really nicely fund a kind of research lab for us with AMP. I guess in the same way that Google ads mean that it can do whatever the hell they want and they can, fund a lot of experimentation internally. Yeah. So we got these two products under one roof.
What were some of the trade-offs you made when you were building the first coding agent? Obviously, there were people that trained, foundation models themselves. Other people just wrote harnesses, and they're swapping out the different models from the big labs. How did you think about the different decisions that you made?
We decided, let's see how far we can get without trying to train our own God model. Let's depend on Anthropic or OpenAI and Google. And ever since we started with AMP, which is, we started that in February, we honestly thought there was going to be a model competition a lot sooner. And it actually only started happening in a big way last week with Gemini 3. We switched AMP's model over to Gemini 3. It was a huge leap forward. And then today, back to loving Opus 4.5. I think I'm going to switch back to that.
Yeah.
But am I glad that we didn't go spend billions and billions of dollars training a model that was 1% worse and yet nobody uses it? No, I'm really happy to be occupying, this place.
Yeah. So you don't surface you don't have a model picker in the agent. It's not like I can, as a customer, say, I'm willing to watch all the ads and get all the ads, but I really prefer Gemini 3 or Codex or Opus 4.5, for example. I don't get to pick.
Yeah, no model picker.
Got it. Cool. Well,
last question. What do you think about integrating other types of products in the IDE?
Yeah.
We were talking about Chad IDE, putting gambling in the product. Do you think do you think there's a world in the future, like 3 years from now, where people have enough time between like running different tasks and agents that they just have time to like goof around in the IDE or in various developer tools, or is that kind of like an of the moment kind of like problem solution?
I think you should be able to bet, get some Kalshi manifold markets stuff in there. You should, there should
bet
be
on. You should say, what ad are you gonna? You should let people bet on what ad they're gonna get next.
Yeah, and
like
then whichever one they want.
I think I don't know if you're joking, but I think you can go too far. We've seen people get go viral, but be potentially flash in the pan.
Yeah, we'll see if I'm joking.
Okay, yeah.
I think gambling is taking it too far, but there's a lot of stuff we can explore.
Yeah. I mean, the ads business, Google made $100 billion from ads in Q3. I think there might be enough opportunity there. But we'll see.
What last question? Are you hyperactive in Slack?
Yes, of course.
Are you?
My great-grandfather started it.
Invented it.
Back in the 1800s.
Yes.
I'm proud to see what it's become.
Yes.
Amazing.
He's like, I'm actually a Microsoft Teams guy.
Great to meet. Very cool. Very cool product.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Hope to have you back
Love the show.
soon.
Thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Quinn.
See ya.
Cheers.
Have a good one. Bye. Back to the timeline. Let me tell you about Vanta, Automate Compliance Managed Trust, the leading AI trust management platform. Did I already do that one?
You did.
Well, then let's go
we love
to
Vanta.
Figma. Think bigger, build faster. Figma helps divine and develop teams build great products together. I'll also tell you about Julius AI, the AI data analyst that works for you. Join millions who use Julius to connect their data, ask questions, and get insights in seconds. Back on the timeline, people are having fun with Nano Banana. They're putting different hairstyles on various tech people. So Ilya has a wide variety. This is Mark Andreessen with all sorts of different hairstyles. Which one would you pick if you were him? I think the one in the center looks pretty good. The longer beard, shorter hair, but some of these with the long
in the
flow.
Middle on the left is pretty cool.
Middle
too.
on the left is pretty cool.
Crazy flow. I also like bottom left is also crazy.
Yeah, time to take a trip to Turkey for sure. Just go. You have the money. Just go full head of hair. That's the way to
the
do
thing
it.
with Ilya that's interesting is they didn't do like the full zoomer.
The middle
look.
bottom one, that is flow. Keep going down. Yeah, the middle one. Yeah, right there, right in the middle there. The middle bottom.
The ponytail is also
ponytails.
pretty powerful.
Definitely,
pretty powerful.
That's a respectable hairstyle.
This post here from Thomas Scholes. He says the latest Nano Banana model has officially crossed the line. I no longer implicitly trust photos anymore, and sometimes I can't even definitively claim it's AI now.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I saw this picture.
Yep.
And my first thought was like, that's got to be AI, specifically because I don't think Sam is just walking down the Golden Gate Bridge in the middle of the day.
Yep.
It's like probably terrible from a security standpoint.
Yep.
But it looks photorealistic, and
yeah, it's very so. If you put the photo into Gemini, Gemini will tell you, if you say, is this AI? Gemini will tell you, yes, according to the Synth ID watermark detection tool, this image was generated in whole or in part with Google AI. Of course, we've seen previous images where if you turn up the contrast and the saturation all the way, you can see kind of the rainbow, like zebra pattern, basically, that's embedded in there very subtly. But yeah, I mean, this is pretty photoreal. And so you got to stay safe out there. It's going to be
Joe Weisenthal asked Nano Banana to create a really annoying LinkedIn profile.
This is what I was talking about.
I couldn't tell, is this a real person?
I have no idea, because at this point we're way past the Turing test for images, in the sense that this looks perfectly edited, but this could also just be a straight up screenshot. I would need to fact check this. But instead of fact checking it, I'm going to tell you about Privy. Privy make it easy to build on crypto rails, securely spin up white label wallets, sign transactions, and integrate on-chain infrastructure all through one simple API.
Kaylin Sterling, I don't think is a real person.
Okay.
Says I don't do small talk.
Yeah.
I do deep dives. My journey is a quantum leap through the liminal spaces of tech and spirituality. Chief Visionary Officer, TEDx speaker, professional storyteller, democratizing the metaverse one DAO at a time. 10x growth alchemist.
So did Joe actually ask Nano Banana to do this? I want to see the prompt, if that's true.
Let's try to.
Yeah, we need to replicate this.
Try to replicate
because I actually did. So this was the example that I gave. I went to Nano Banana and I said, make a. My prompt was just create a really annoying LinkedIn profile, but I forgot to check the Nano Banana box, and so even though it was multimodal, according to Tyler over there, it did not generate it. It generated text, and so it's like I can only do text. Very questionable. We'll see. We'll keep playing around with that, and in the meantime, I'll tell you about adquick.com. Out-of-home advertising made easy and measurable. Plan, buy, and measure out of home with precision. What's up with Brian Johnson? He's starting a new protocol. Is he going to Taco Bell drive-through? Is this a real photo? This is AI again?
This has to be AI.
That's a very funny photo. This was my take, was that if he's really changed by his journey, he must come out of it liking at least one fast food restaurant. And Alexa says those shrooms spiritually healed him in a way that has him living moss now.
Living moss.
The Live Moss tagline was
one of
really
the best
fantastic.
taglines
really
of
good.
all time.
Yeah. Taco Bell knows how to do it. Also, underrated how online the Taco Bell marketing team is. Are you familiar with this?
See their posts.
You know the story of Sheil Monat, guest of the show, multiple time.
Oh, yeah, he got married.
He got married at one in the metaverse or something. It was some crazy thing where he posted if somebody pays for it, I'll get married in the metaverse, as a joke. And then Taco Bell was yeah, let's do it or something. It was very crazy, but it's there aren't a lot of companies at that scale that are as online and in the culture as Taco Bell, and beyond just they have somebody who's pithy on the Twitter. It's no, they actually can go and execute. I've seen multiple people who are very niche internet micro celebrities that have been given the full dog and pony show and tour of the Taco Bell headquarters and impressed upon them the greatness of the Taco Bell brand. It's pretty awesome. Almost as awesome as getting a luxury watch on getbezel.com. Shop over 26,500 luxury watches, fully authenticated in-house by Bezel's team of experts. This post from Near. Did you want to skip this one?
Near says, guy who doesn't want to be old. It seems like we'll get age-reversing tech right when I'll be old. How favorable.
Yeah.
Guy who thinks it is different this time. But this time it's different.
This is insane post. Read the next one. We got some massive news from none other than Bill Gurley.
We got to get the gong out for this
one. You read it.
Amy Gurley, huge congratulations to Bill Gurley for receiving the Texas Distinguished Alumnus Award, a remarkable honor for a remarkable Longhorn. Congratulations, Bill. Well deserved.
Congratulations.
This made my day. This made my day.
Everyone was wondering if he was going to make it.
Yeah, it was kind of the elephant in the room.
It was hugely hotly debated. There were a lot. $10 million in liquidity betting on this, whether or not he would
probably
make it. Million.
Yeah, it was sort of the longhorn in the room.
Yeah, exactly. It was a huge deal, but he did it. He pulled it off, and we're very excited for Bill.
Everyone was wondering what he would do if he didn't win.
I guess we'll never know.
I guess we'll never know.
Riley Walls.
This is so funny.
Truly the greatest internet rascal of his time.
Incredible.
He did it again. He cloned Gmail, except you're logged in as Epstein and can see all of his emails. Like it's
such a good
great
UI,
workflow because people workflo.
I mean, it's a way because I've seen other people do. Here's a fine tune on the emails. Here's a searchable database. None of them have been particularly usable, but this is fascinating because it just really substantiates the emails in a way that everyone knows what a Gmail inbox looks like, and you can just.
He added this random page button. It's also funny because he's getting this. One of the last emails that he got was a Flipboard week in the week in review, and the subject line says Alex Acosta resigns, Jeffrey Epstein arrested.
Yeah.
So imagine. I guess he wouldn't have been really able to read this email where he learns that he's arrested.
He's arrested in there. Yeah, this is one of the things. Chat a while ago was like, oh, I'd love for the TBPN to cover the Epstein thing, but it's not really their shtick. Well, we found an angle. We found a tech angle, and so this is when we get to talk about it. I know everyone wants us to talk about the hottest news story in a decade, but you have to get it through the lens of Riley Walls and fun little hack projects. Before we move on, let me tell you about 8sleep.com. Exceptional sleep, without exception. Fall asleep faster, sleep deeper, wake up energized. The reason you feel insane, according to Will Manitis, is because you're talking to ChatGPT when you should be talking to God. Near claps back
that.
And says, the reason you feel insane is because you're talking to God when you should be speaking with Claude. So funny. Claude. Oh, Keller is coming on the show tomorrow from Zipline. Keller Clifton, one of the greatest. Get that goat sound effect ready for tomorrow.
We'll do it early.
Keller said that he's launched zipping points. He can pick up packages and deliver them autonomously with the Zipline autonomous drones. This is the private plane for your burrito, folks. It's arrived. Yep. We're here. We're in the future.
Future is here.
The future plane, the flying car is here, and it will deliver you Chipotle in 15 minutes, in 4 minutes while it's still warm. So here's a Zip grabbing a package from one of our restaurant partners. It'll take so many cars off the road over the coming years. That's great news for environmentalists, for congestion, for anyone who wants to be able to really let it loose on the roads. If we're getting less congestion, maybe the speed limit goes up to 80 miles an hour, maybe 120, maybe 160, maybe we get up to 200, and you can really let it loose. I would like that.
I wonder if they'll need to will you need to prove that you're at a certain address in order to get stuff delivered there? Because it's such a funny dimension to mess with people and just be like, hey, look on your lawn. And there's just a
burrito,
a burrito just chilling there.
Well, people do that with pizzas, right? They prank call. I'd like a dozen pizzas delivered to this address. I'll pay in cash. This is like a famous prank. And then you show up and it's like, I don't need all these pizzas. I'm being pranked. I think that's been mostly resolved by modern payment solutions. But I'm sure there will be oddities around these drones. Sheesh, Theo Vaughn, Flamin' Hot Tweets, is joking around and says, imagine how cool it will be to shoot one of these out of the sky to get a free meal, going hunting for your Chipotle burrito. That, of course, is extremely cyberpunk and hilarious, but it will be massively illegal. And Keller breaks it down. He says, we're regulated by the FAA, so the consequences are similar to shooting at a 737 as it's taking off from the airport. Not a good idea. Also, communities love the service, and I imagine he's not saying the details. But if you shoot at a 737 as it's taking off from an airport, I think you're going to jail for a long time. And I think you will not just be able to shoot one of these out of the sky and pick up a free burrito with a 22. But
what about like a really big net? if you own the land, how high can you build a net?
I think that would be the same as throwing a really big net at a 737 on takeoff, Tyler. And
I don't know. I don't think. I think
for anything,
there's no way you
the
can
same
say
as
the consequences are similar. Like, yes, it's illegal to shoot something out of the sky, but you're not. I think somebody could shoot one of these things down and get a misdemeanor. I think they could. I think with a good lawyer, you're getting a misdemeanor. You're not going to. Whereas a 737, you know,
if you get John Quinn on your side, you're eating burritos for free.
Yeah. So David Chang was saying, like, it's just there's like he. It wasn't that he was like bearish on the tech, but he didn't think it solved like delivering it in the right form factor.
Yeah.
We got to ask Keller about that tomorrow, because right now, if you order food, depending on where you are, between the time that it's cooked and picked up and delivered, it's like there's a big gap.
Well, speaking of cooked,
it has to be shorter.
Speaking of cooked, there was a wild job description that hit the timeline. Rachel Mayer says, coolest PM role in crypto. Cooked.
Real impact.
Real impact.
Needs to be clinically online. Not even chronically online.
Apply here at Circle. We love Circle, of course, but
wait, was this like intentionally?
Yeah, this must be a troll. This is RageBait done perfectly. And Facundo says cooked. The idea, I was cracking up at this, like the idea of showing up to your job and being like, oh man, like yeah, the team is here is cooked. Like they're all like washed up. It's just the worst possible team.
I think it's a perfect post from Rachel. There's no way this job post would have gotten nearly the reach. I think this was successful.
Did you see this in the replies to her original post? It says, did you mean to say cooked, cooking, or cracked? And Rachel says, I don't even know anymore. They all sound fun. Rachel, we ain't cooked. We are cooking. One of the developers like at Circle is like, let's correct this. This is so funny. Let me tell you about Wander.com. Book a Wander with inspiring views, hotel grade amenities, dreamy beds, top tier cleaning, 24/7 concierge service. What is this? The IP blocks are going out. You saw that, right? There's when you identify someone on X where they're from, if you signed up originally with an IP, it can be transferred to another. Like the IP block can be sold internationally, and then you will show up as an international participant. So there are some false positives there a little bit. Sheil, who I mentioned for the Taco Bell wedding, I hope I didn't get that story wildly wrong, is mentioning a post from Alexis Mulliner, who says, FYI, DHH, I'm noting that learn.omicom.io is inaccessible from Spain while La Liga matches are being broadcast. And DHH says Spain blocks all of Cloudflare during those matches in an insane medieval attempt to counter piracy.
That's
wow. And so Omarchy is hosted with Cloudflare, and they just bring down the internet when they don't just stop piracy. That is insane. And so Sheila breaks it down. He says, oh my God, Spain blocks Cloudflare IP ranges during La Liga matches. La Liga submits lists of pirate IPs, and the blocks take out lots of legitimate services too. So you can't use LinkedIn in Spain during La Liga games.
I mean, that's pretty on brand. That's pretty on brand.
I'm not going to look up the GDP growth figures. I'm not going to do it. I'm sure it's going great. Over there.
Very, very on brand for Spain. Did you see this?
JP Morgan.
So this is like the most potentially it was like a Nathan Fielder idea.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of accounts saying that JP Morgan appears to have an existentially threatening short MicroStrategy position that can potentially bankrupt JPM if MicroStrategy trades 50% higher above Friday's close.
Okay.
And Wall Street Bets comes in and says, you have no idea how understated this is. So a systemically critical bank is going to fail because they're short MicroStrategy. I'm not sure about this, but it's working because MicroStrategy is up 5% today, so could have played. Meanwhile, Bitcoin is up 2.5% today, so could have played a part. Who knows? But it's a fun idea. It's fun to.
Yeah, the thing I think
I don't think Jamie Dimon is risking it all for on a micro strategy short.
Yeah, I wonder how they even got that information. Maybe it was from a 13F or something. Who knows? Tyler has become extremely black-pilled on the 13F. He's building a thesis against it. We might be talking about that later this week. Also, I mean, the whole thing with the we're going to blow them out, like it completely it just negates the idea that like they can trade a lot faster than you can trade them. Like, you can just like they can get out of that trade when it's up 10%. And it's like, yeah, it would have been disastrous at 50, but once it went up 10%, they were like, okay, yeah, we're out actually. Like, we're hedging, we're doing something, we're buying the other side of the trade or whatever. Especially like if you're a short seller now, like it's not like you don't have Google alerts for what's going on Wall Street bets. It's not going to like take you by surprise. You're going to be like, oh yeah, I know that retail armies exist. If they get marshaled, it can be really bad. So you do have to be a little bit careful because even though they might have like crazy memes and they might be like somewhat silly, they are powerful, but you can quantify the power. You can look at what capital has actually been marshaled for GameStop. Is it being sucked out of the GameStop army? Because if the entire GameStop army like leaves and you see GameStop selling off by 80% and now they're buying into MicroStrategy or something, like you probably have a problem.
Yeah, and Wall Street has always been PvP. So and in this case, it's like one group versus 30,000 individual.
Well, we might want to close out with this post from Semi-Analysis about PVS, person versus shrimp. They're breaking it down. He says, it has become extremely trendy among some San Francisco artificial intelligence researchers to donate to shrimp welfare. They estimate that they help improve the welfare of 1,500 shrimps per year for every $1 donated. Why do they donate to shrimps? They claim that it is the most cost-effective way of reducing suffering of sentient beings. Note that the shrimp welfare nonprofit actually does not prevent shrimps from being killed, but instead promotes the use of electrical stunning as a more humane slaughtering method that aligns with the goal of reducing shrimp suffering. And so I had an idea for a new Semi-Analysis product, Shrimp Max, and what they'll do is every night they will take thousands of shrimp and execute them using hundreds of different methodologies, and then they will quantify the amount of suffering on a nightly basis, just like what they do with Cluster Max.
Yeah.
And so we could know for sure, because today the SFAI researchers, they might be, yes, electrical stunning is better than the previous method, but what if there's a shift tomorrow, and tomorrow electrical stunning is not the best method? They need to have real-time data. They need charts. They need graphs. They need a dashboard. They need Cluster Max for shrimp suffering.
I didn't believe this was real, but shrimpwelfareproject.org seems to be, they say you can track their Shrimp Act.
Shrimp Act. Well, I like a good
There's 440 billion shrimps are farmed each year.
Yes.
That is wild. That's more than 5 times the number of all farmed land animals combined.
I didn't know shrimp was so popular.
This makes shrimp welfare an area of high impact where your involvement can lead to great change.
Yeah. Are you pro-shrimp, anti-shrimp, Tyler?
Do you mean like shrimp welfare or shrimp in general?
Do you like shrimp? Do you like eating shrimp?
I enjoy shrimp.
You enjoy shrimp? Do you think the shrimp welfare thing holds any water?
I think it holds some water. Yeah. At some point, it's like...
Should we have a global shrimp welfare tax? It's like an extra $1 per every time you buy. Every shrimp you buy is like $1 on top just for shrimp welfare. So if you have a nice meal, you might be paying like a $20 premium, but thousands of shrimp are going to live better lives because of it.
Well, it's not that they're not going to live better lives; they're going to die better deaths.
It's a noble cause. It's a noble cause.
It is funny to go through all of this.
Yeah.
Like you clearly care more about shrimp than probably anyone on Earth, and you're still like, yeah, they must die, but we have to do it.
Yeah,
got to be nice about it. You got to be nice with it.
It is crazy that you just don't save them. But I mean, I'm sure the spreadsheets mathed out in a certain way, and the rest is history. Should we close out with this iconic mid-century home? It is apparently for sale. Look at this photo, beautiful. And I think someone might have already bought it. Adam Mayer said, "I'm going to buy it." This is in the SF Gate. Have you seen this home before? I think I've seen some photos. It says after 65 years, LA's most famous mid-century house hits the market. It's the first time it's ever been sold. Somebody's owned it for 65 years. The pinnacle of mid-century modern architecture with floor-to-ceiling glass windows proffering a panoramic view of Los Angeles below. The home has been carefully preserved for decades. I just like that. It's for sale for $25 million. I just like that for once we get a real estate listing that kind of just becomes the current thing. And I saw a lot of people posting about this. We obviously love the mansion section, love posting about real estate, talking about real estate. We find real estate very fascinating. And I was happy to see this break through in such a meaningful way.
Yeah.
Anyway, lots more news, but we will get to that tomorrow. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for supporting us, listening to the show, wherever you listen. Leave us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and we will see you tomorrow. A little update on the schedule. We will be off on Wednesday and Thursday. No show Wednesday, no show Thursday, but we will be back on Friday for Black Friday, and we will be taking you on a whirlwind tour of the e-commerce world. We have some very exciting stuff planned for that. So we'll see you tomorrow. And then we won't see you Wednesday,
Have
Thursday.
a wonderful afternoon and evening. We'll see you at 11.